Hello, and welcome to the Graveyard Media Podcast, episode 30 for the week of February 19th, 2018. I'm your host, Saine Grey.
Hello,
With me, as always, is Graveyard Dalsson
that's me.
and Thel.
I'm pretty sure I'm at least 30% witch.
I'd go
So,
for a solid 45.
Okay,
so
fair
we
enough.
have a special,
It's in my lineage.
kind of thing. Dawson
Yeah.
hit affiliate today.
Finally,
Just did. Oh my
after
god!
all
And
these
we're all
years. Actually,
we're all
after
very
all these
proud.
months of
we're all
me,
very proud of our boy.
especially me. I'm also
Yeah.
very proud of me.
Yeah, he did it. He fucking did it. Good goddamn job, my man.
It's super exciting.
Shit.
If you're watching on YouTube, come subscribe on Twitch.
Yeah.
The link will
if,
be down here on the bottom.
if you're watching
Oh shit,
on YouTube,
now I have to remember that.
screw you.
Or just follow, or just, actually watch. I don't even
Yeah.
care.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
like interacting with people. That's the most fun part of Twitch.
And if you're if you're watching on YouTube, you can leave a comment or something. We'll get back to you probably.
We'll get back to you likely. Unless it's on one of the
Yeah.
Hollow Knight videos, because we get so many of those a day.
And Thel's pretty good about replying to that.
Yeah, I try to get them as much as I can. Well, I try to get all of everything as much as I can. But yeah.
All right, so we're gonna start off with games and movies we've been checking out this week, and then head into some news afterwards.
Yep.
What
Some
little
news.
there is.
Yeah. It's a little bit of news.
So who wants to start this week?
Thel should start this
okay.
week.
All right.
Like all weeks?
I will start.
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't usually start, so I think that maybe I should give it a shot. So I saw 2 movies this week, which is great. The
Oh,
first movie.
One second though, it looks like Index Opium just subscribed with a $5
Oh.
sub.
Hell yes.
My man,
Wow,
you're already
he
making
was
it.
on top of that.
Congratulations! Just jumped on. Oh yeah, this guy's got affiliate. You can give him money now. Go ahead, give him money.
Normally we
Hey
don't.
everyone. Okay, yeah.
Normally we don't stop to talk
Thank
about
you,
that
Index
stuff, but I think
Opium.
in this
Yeah, we
case
normally-
that's.
Yeah, I feel like this is like the first one, yeah. So
Well,
I'm-
technically I subscribe
First-
to Twitch Prime, but
Okay,
first
fine.
first paid subscription for sure.
for
Yes,
first paid
excellent.
subscription. Yeah.
Thank you again, Index Opium. You're the man. You are the bomb.
Yeah. So yeah, that's cool. And yeah, I don't mind fucking stopping on that shit. Okay.
I think
So-
stopping for subs during the podcast is reasonable.
We're only gonna get so many, so we might as well.
Don't count Dawson out.
I'm
Fair
the
enough.
best.
Yeah. He's this man's making it. He's already making it. He just needs to make it just a little bit more. So yeah.
Mhm,
Anyway.
All right.
I saw 2 movies this week. The first one that I saw was a film called Kagemusha.
Okay.
This one was a movie about a man who is it's set in 16th century Japan, and it's about a man who's the double of a lord. The lord dies, and so the lord's last wishes were, for 3 years after my death, no one is to know I have died. My double will take my place. And so, for 3 years after his death, the double does take his place. And the movie is about the double attempting to live up to this man's legacy, as he was just some guy who was about to be crucified.
I have a question real quick.
Yes.
Is this the 1980s film?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to
So-
make sure I had the right film.
This movie is wonderful. The way it does everything is wonderful. Now, if you've seen an Akira Kurosawa film, you probably saw it in black and white. It was probably Seven Samurai or Rashomon. I think this was Kurosawa's first color film, and goddamn, this is one of the prettiest movies I have seen in a long time. It is beautifully colorful. You got a lot of directors that when there's like this new thing that comes along, like for instance color, they sort of play it a little bit safe. Kurosawa does not. He paints a goddamn picture. It's incredibly impressive. And it's like, yeah, congratulations, Kurosawa did something impressive. It's like, this man impresses me every time I watch one of his goddamn movies. I love me some Kurosawa. I love this man. And the movie, not only just being visually beautiful, it's beautiful in every way. There's a lot of really, really good character stuff. Like the very first scene where the guy who is going to be the double meets the Lord for the first time. He's constantly angry at the fact that this Lord is, barging in and attacking a bunch of towns, taking over castles and stuff. And he calls him some sort of, you're no better than I am, you're a multiple murderer, and every time he looks at him, he just stops, and then has to look away, because the man has such a commanding presence, which eventually carries on to the later film where he agrees to do it. It's a really, really, really well done film in every way, shape, or form, and it's like, yeah, this movie came out 30 years ago now, but it's one of Kurosawa's lesser known
Almost
films.
40.
Yeah, almost 40, and that surprises me because, oh my, it's very good. I've seen most of Kurosawa's like big films. I haven't seen Ran, but this one's definitely
you mentioned that
upscale.
if you've seen a Kurosawa movie, it's probably in black and white, but you didn't really follow up. Is this movie in black and white?
No, this one's in color.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
That
He
was
did
that was.
mention that, but
Oh,
Yeah.
I missed that. I guess
Okay.
I'm sorry.
that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know.
this
Those
was,
weren't connected thoughts, but he did mention.
And this is actually kind of surprising that this one isn't as well known because, again, first one in color, really good. And also, this was like the first Kurosawa movie to be brought to America by Fox. Like George Lucas and Coppola lobbied for this movie, and so Fox distributed it. So it actually did get to America.
There's actually a lot of nods in the older Star Wars movies too. A lot of Kurosawa film.
Yeah. George Lucas was a huge fan. Steven Spielberg was also a huge fan, and he's great. And again, there's like also huge nods in other films like Fistful of Dollars, which is literally just Yojimbo but with cowboys.
Yeah.
Almost a shot-for-shot remake of Yojimbo with cowboys.
Yeah.
Kagemusha is very good.
Not to mention Seven Samurai has been remade and adapted into like tons.
Yeah, for instance, Seven Samurai with Cowboys, The Magnificent Seven.
Yeah.
So Kurosawa was very famous, very popular with the Italians, and they made movies about the movies that he made. Good job, Kurosawa. You did a good job when you made movies. Everyone loved you. Congratulations. And that's one of the things that I always want to mention when I talk about Kurosawa. Every time I sit down to watch a Kurosawa movie, I put myself in the Criterion headspace. You know what? I'm going to watch a movie that's very important film. I'm going to pay attention to this movie and try to see if I can.
Anyway, let's move on.
Well, no. Here's the thing. I think about it like this, right? And then when I watch the movie, I'm just like, this is a bunch of samurais hitting people with swords. This is fun as heck.
And it is.
Yeah, and it is. It's great. So yeah. But I will move on from this. The next movie I saw was a movie that was released a little bit closer and is actually going up for Oscar nomination. I saw Paul Thomas Anderson's new film, Phantom Thread. If you're familiar with Paul Thomas Anderson, he is the guy who did There Will Be Blood, biggest, most famous one, blew up Daniel Day-Lewis, The Master.
Fantastic Mr. Fox.
No, you're thinking of Wes Anderson.
Oh, damn! I'm sorry.
It's hard to get it's easy to get them mixed up, especially when you put the guy who directed the Resident Evil movies in there, Paul W.S. Anderson.
Oh no!
Then you got a whole fucking mess on your hands. But yeah, Paul Thomas Anderson is a different guy.
Okay.
Both of them make pretty good movies. And a lot of people, you've probably heard of Daniel Day-Lewis and all of the method acting that he does. He's the big method actor man.
Right.
I've kind of heard a lot about this film. Can you
Yeah.
just go through the synopsis? What's it about?
Okay, sure. When it started out, what I was a little bit, I didn't give this film enough credit. I was like, wow, the cinematography is beautiful, but right now it seems to be very boy meets girl, sort of basic 1950s love story. And then the movie got more than like half an hour in, and I was like, oh yeah. This movie is about the end of the honeymoon. This entire movie is the end of the honeymoon.
Except for the first half hour, evidently.
Except for like the first when they meet. Paul Thomas Anderson always has Daniel Day-Lewis play some kind of asshole. and
Okay.
in really interesting and different ways every time. Like, he played the in There Will Be Blood, he played the very smart oil baron asshole who would fuck over anyone to make himself more money. In The Master, he played just a completely brutish kind of dumb asshole just looking for his place in life, who's willing to start a fight with anyone who just got out of the war and is completely like without a place. And in
Okay.
this one, he plays a very, very picky, very, very scheduled asshole who doesn't like anyone interrupting what they have going on. The movie is about a tailor who is the best tailor in all of London. Everyone is scrambling to get a woodcock dress. And Daniel Day-Lewis's character is the woodcock.
Right.
And then a woman comes in who he
Princess
meets at a
dress.
diner as a model. And eventually the woman, really starts to like him, and Daniel Day-Lewis starts to tolerate her more than all of the other people. So
Oh,
they
okay.
have
I think I remember
yeah.
the trailer for this now. Yeah.
Yeah. So they have a fling, and needless to say, it has its ups and downs, mostly downs, very far downs, and that's what's kind of great about this movie. There's a line in the movie that beautifully encapsulates the entire film. It's, well, what the bloody hell could you possibly be thinking about? Will you marry me? Just wonderful stuff. Thank you, Paul Thomas Anderson, for another good one. I don't know if this is my favorite Paul Thomas Anderson film. I really like There Will Be Blood. But another very good film. Cinematography is gorgeous. Almost, you almost don't need to even say this at this point with these fucking movies. And again, the characterization is what really gets it. It's all of these people feel like kind of dickheads, but you can understand the entirety of their heads. You can understand who they are as people, and you can understand why they are dickheads and what they are trying to gain from being dickheads. They're not just dickheads, right? I feel like maybe I was a little bit crass with that. Paul Thomas Anderson is very good at getting into characters' heads by using dialogue or a lack of dialogue. It's just like that. Daniel Day-Lewis, of course, is fantastic. He always fucking is.
Yeah.
So yeah. New movie, Phantom Thread, good.
All right.
Yeah.
Any
I
other
think that's
movies
all that
before?
Yeah, that's all I did on my own. I think most of the other stuff is stuff we did together.
I have a question.
Yeah, hit me.
What's a movie?
So it's a thing. You go to a dark room, you sit down, and it shows a thing to you. You eat popcorn to it.
So anyway, why don't
Like
we
they
move
did
into
in, Clockwork Orange?
Yeah, basically.
Okay, we're gonna move
Is that
on.
a movie? Okay.
Yes.
I saw Black Panther this weekend,
Okay.
so we might as well finish up all the movies before we head into games, since we played most of
Sure.
those together or played the same games
Yeah.
this week. So, Black Panther, I was actually pretty happy with it. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Black Panther is a movie based on the Marvel character Black Panther.
Mm-hmm.
It
not
has
not the 1960s movement. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the Marvel character.
right. He is a character who is the king of Wakanda, and it goes through him sort of ascending to the throne in this movie, and some of the complications that come with the legacy of his father.
Mm-hmm.
So
Now it's T'Challa.
it is
Yes.
T'Challa, right? There is not another major Black Panther in the Marvel universe.
Well, right, but the
Which at this
previous
point is kind of
previous person who was the Black Panther.
Right,
It's
but even
especially
in the
weird
comics-
because Black Panther is a mantle, but T'Challa is always the one who portrays it.
Well, it's just because even in comics, and they kind of go into this in the movie, but Wakanda is very secretive and seclusionary and isolationist.
The way
Until
you said that made it sound like you were about to imply that there are multiple T'Challas that have all gone through. T'Challa never dies. There are multiple T'Challas. This is just
No.
a different one.
There are multiple Black Panthers, but not T'Challas.
Oh yeah.
But
T'Challa
they
is
never
the name
portray
of
Black
that
Panther
Black
as-
Panther.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're very secretive, and T'Challa is the first like king of Wakanda to actually reach out to the rest of the world. Although in the movie they kind of talk about how T'Chaka, his father, was in the like
For
United
Rainbow
Nations.
Six Siege.
Whatever, Dalsson, shut up. Um, at least I believe it's T'Chaka. I'm not.
Yeah,
I thought it was
right.
T'Chaka. I thought it was T'Chaka too, but every time I think of that name, I
Right.
think of the machine gunner in Rainbow Six.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so what I kind of liked about this movie is it did a really good job of like portraying its message without being overtly political. And I think it would have been really easy to get caught in that trap of making it very much
T'Chaka.
T'Chaka.
Or
Okay,
close.
yeah.
Close.
I added an N in there.
Because of Rainbow
Because
Six
of
Siege.
yeah.
Well, no, that's not why. Just because I didn't even think about that. But
Okay.
yeah, it would have been really easy to make this movie very political, and it is still political to some extent, but it's not. It had a good message. It wasn't. It was about coming together and working together, and not focusing on the like negative history between like different peoples. It's very much about working together.
So it's more about moving forward than looking back.
Right, and that's something that, and actually that comes into play in the key conflict between the main villain, because there are multiple villains in this movie, and T'Challa. The kind of what happens is the main villain attempts to basically take the throne from T'Challa, and his intent is to arm various presumably black peoples in different countries so that they can overthrow the governments in each country and basically take over the world as Wakanda.
Oh.
Yeah. And because like in Marvel canon, Wakanda is the kind of city built or the country built on the largest planetary resource of vibranium. They're able
I think it's the only planetary resource.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
they
no,
have
there
the
are
only
other sources, because
vibranium.
there's some in Savage Lands, but that's a
Okay.
X-Men thing.
Okay.
There are other sources of vibranium, and
Not in
although
the Marvel Cinematic Universe,
and
though,
this,
but, you know.
to be fair, this version of vibranium is different than most other versions of vibranium, even in the comics. But
it's not like, well, it's like adamantium but stronger and also magical.
well, no, because
I
vibranium
thought
and
it was
adamantium
aliens.
actually have different properties, and in the cinematic universe, they've been calling vibranium the strongest metal, but really, adamantium is the strongest metal. But
Because vibranium vibrates at such a high frequency, it can cut through adamantium.
it's
I mean,
not,
that was in a Wolverine comic at one
yeah,
point.
it's not super simple about how that works. Honestly,
Yeah.
like I don't want to go into the metallurgy effects in Marvel Comics because it's already kind of a mess. But
Yeah.
I thought it was
vibranium
just,
is
like,
technically
explained
the
by
hardest
aliens.
metal, and most durable metal. But vibranium is also, because of its properties, has a bunch of other like ways of
Right.
mitigation. Like one of the things is vibranium absorbs kinetic energy.
Mm-hmm.
So
Which is
if
what
you
would've-
shoot him, like if you shoot Black Panther with a gun, because he's wearing a suit made out of vibranium, the bullets just bounce off. Or actually, they
Right.
don't bounce off. They literally hit his suit and then fall. Because it absorbs all the kinetic energy and then just falls.
Captain America's shield is made out of an alloy of adamantium and vibranium,
Yes.
I believe. So it both absorbs impact and is unbreakable.
Right. Anyway,
Which
going.
isn't exactly how alloys work. Yeah.
Well, no, it
Carry
is.
on.
I mean, you can. Whatever. Alloys can have properties of both metals. But anyway, so yeah, back to the plot before I got sidetracked on vibranium. Yeah, so basically because of their them having basically the only source of vibranium on the planet, they were able to leap far ahead of other countries in technology and science. And that's why they have like suits that do things that basically look like magic to a lot of other characters.
Right.
Because all of their stuff is science based. It's just very
It's like basically due to the
it's almost
existence of
alien.
vibranium.
It's almost
Yeah.
alien. It's so far
Due to the
ahead of everyone
existence
else
of
that it's just
vibranium,
bizarre.
it's very highly technologically advanced.
So the cool thing about this movie too is it takes a lot of cultural influences from African culture and mixes it in with Wakanda's like future society. So in a way that you could kind of like makes perfect sense. Like you could see it happening this way. They have a lot of like ritualistic cultures enhanced by all of this like super technology. So
that kind of almost throws back to like it feeling almost alien, because like a lot of alien like portrayals of aliens in sci-fi have ritualistic stuff, but they are also using laser rifles.
Like for the instance, they have like spaceship or not spaceships, but like flying ships that are shaped like dragonflies. Like they're obviously modeled after that. Like the main character's like suit is like a collection of like metal, like almost claws looking things. Like there are a lot of different like influences, and other characters. Like one of the characters has a spear that kind of folds up. Like I don't know. It's kind of an interesting mix of like cultural norms and like what it would be like paired with like futuristic
Sci-fi
technology.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's super cool. Yeah, I thought they did a really good job with that. And like I said, without being overtly political, it didn't feel like they were trying to I don't know, say anything negative about any particular culture and the principal conflict had a lot to do with you know, looking towards the future, how we can let go of history and kind of move forward together versus looking back at history and using that as a reason to create even further war. So, but you can, I don't know, the villain who is the main villain was Killmonger in this movie, who is not a super relevant character, but relevant enough to Black Panther, if that makes sense. I lost my train of thought. He's actually probably one of the strongest Marvel villains because you actually understand why he's doing what he's doing, and it's like, and it's interesting. Like he has
strongest character wise, for clarity, right?
Right, strongest character. Well, he's not physically the strongest villain, but he is one of the most interesting villains because his motivations are more complex than most other Marvel villains. Like, the only other villains that are even remotely, like, approaching his level is, like, maybe Loki. And Loki's... well, Loki fleshed out over the course of several movies, not Loki in just Avengers.
Yeah.
Right.
Like...
maybe Ego from Guardians 2?
Yeah, well... even more so than that.
Alright, cool.
Yeah, like, Ego from Guardians 2 was just kind of, like, he had this thing that he was doing, but, like, his motivations weren't super...
yeah, he was like
there wasn't any logical, like, line from why he was doing what he was doing to what he was doing. You know what I mean?
It was just like weird selfish motivations, basically.
Yeah.
Right. And kind of, like, almost the Dr. Manhattan-esque thing of, like, feeling like you're so above other species of life that you don't even like consider them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is kind of what Ego was sort of doing.
Yeah.
Whereas this character was definitely a more real character. He was developed almost as much as like T'Challa was. Not quite as well. Yeah, probably about as much as T'Challa was. Like you really understood why he was doing what he was doing and stuff. So it was very cool. I liked it. I could totally see why it's gangbusters in the box office. Not only because it's culturally relevant, but it's also like a hit.
Good.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like a really high score with audio or with critics. And
Also,
stuff.
it's a Marvel movie, so...
and on top of that, it's a Marvel movie. So I think it's
Yeah.
now the highest selling solo Marvel movie. I think it's just behind Avengers, and it's like top 6 like movies.
Now, I have a question that's very
Box office?
important.
Yeah.
We've discussed before that I hate Black Panther.
Yeah.
I hate T'Challa. Because, and the reason for it is he just feels like such an absolute Mary Sue. He can do anything because vibranium.
He's definitely toned down quite a bit in this movie.
Okay.
I feel like depictions of him have been hit or miss in various media, just because like sometimes he shows up and then just kicks everyone's ass, and they don't really explain why or how.
And it's supposed to be, it's because he's kind of supposed to be mysterious. I get that, but once he like in Earth's Mightiest Heroes, which is like my primary exposure to him, like once he became a main character, like I get the first episode he comes in and like does all this crazy mysterious shit in the first time he's in, because he's supposed to be mysterious. Nobody really knows who he is. So, oh wow, what? He can do this? That's crazy. But once he's like there for 3 seasons of a show, it's like he still just does everything. Like you might as well get rid of the other heroes.
He's definitely a lot toned down. He's definitely a lot toned down from that. And actually, I think it helps quite a bit that like the actor's portrayal of him makes him a lot more charming of a person.
Right.
Like he's funny, he's like interesting, like you want to be his friend. He seems like such a cool guy almost.
Right.
Whereas in especially in Earth's Mightiest Heroes, he might as well not have been T'Challa. He was just Black Panther. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
In this,
whereas
in this, he definitely like what?
All of the other characters definitely had like their moments of them being superheroes, and then their moments of them just being people.
Right, and just oddly,
even
Black Panther was just kind of
even
Black
like
Panther.
Thor and Vision had their own little like, we're just humans, even though they aren't.
I thought that, and he does struggle in this movie. Like he doesn't just cruise through all of his problems like he does in some other media.
Just crash a spaceship into the Death Star and then survive because he had another smaller spaceship in his spaceship.
Some of it probably helps that he is fighting other people with like vibranium weapons. So it's not just like a lot of the fights were him wearing a vibranium suit holding a vibranium weapon versus another person wearing a vibranium suit holding a vibranium weapon. Or
so it was more about how skilled he was instead of the fact that he had vibranium.
Neither of them had vibranium weapons and were fighting hand to hand with not even his like mystical physical enhancement. Because on top of his technological level, he also has like a this special flower that their people have been cultivating that also gives him like increased physical and mental attributes on top of everything. So like using this special flower makes him stronger and faster than a normal human, and on top of that he augments it with his suit, which makes him really ridiculous. But this version of Black Panther was definitely a more vulnerable version of Black Panther. You could see him being alongside the Avengers and not just being outrageous. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, if he fought with, like, Bucky Barnes, for instance, it would actually be a fight. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, if he fought with Captain America, it would actually be a fight. But, and it's kind of funny that I mentioned those two, because both of those ones are the ones that are closest aligned with him, but that's whatever.
Yeah. Do the other superheroes show up in the movie? Or is it primarily just Black Panther?
So, this isn't... I'm not even going to consider this a spoiler, but at the end of the movie, there was a post-credit scene with Bucky Barnes in it.
Okay, but other than that, it's just...
But other than that, no. It's, the only other connection it has to, like, the rest of the Marvel Universe is that villain who was briefly in Avengers 2.
Okay.
The one that Thel mentioned earlier. And the, like, there's a CIA agent that's there, and he runs around with them for a while.
And he was in Civil War.
Right.
Okay.
I remember because I was because the actor who plays it, I was joking with Appleden. It's like, hey, there's gonna be someone who's gonna show up. He's gonna be doing the American accent. You're gonna know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. It's gonna be like Fargo all goddamn over again. It's
He's
gonna be
like
Bilbo with an
the
American
new
accent.
he's like the new Agent Coulson.
Good.
Yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, I thought it was really good. It was definitely well, I expected it to be good anyway, but it totally didn't let me down. I thought it was great.
Okay. Yeah.
Also, the theater was fucking packed. I was in the second overflow line. There was a third overflow line, and that line was going out the door of the building.
Oh my god!
It was crazy. And I was in a theater that sits like 1,500 people.
Holy shit!
So, yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not surprised at all that it is like sixth highest grossing movie or something.
Yeah. Oh boy.
All right. What else do we want to talk about? That's it for movies, I believe.
I think so. Yeah.
Well, Dalsson and I
obviously
finished
haven't
Altered
seen
Carbon.
Oh yeah.
You guys want to jump into Altered
We
Carbon
finished
for a minute?
Altered Carbon.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Let's go over Altered Carbon. That's something all three of us have seen.
Yeah. All right.
Did you finish it, Sane?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I finished it
Yeah,
before you guys started.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
All right. Do you want to start, Dalsson, or should I?
I want to start because I think that Thel's opinion of it is lower than mine, but not bad.
Yeah. It is not a bad show at all.
No,
it is
no,
very
not
good.
in the slightest. So one of my favorite things, like period, in any form of media, is less characters and more world building. Like characters follow a strong suit to helping to build a world, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to see the world without the eyes of the characters. But having a fantastic, magnificent, fully fleshed out, well-developed world is something that's really important to me when I see something like this. And man, Altered Carbon hit it like spot on. And they like very occasionally like outright explain something like this is what a stack is, right? But they didn't do that.
But that's
all
such
the
a
time.
cornerstone of the conceit of the
like
show that they had to explain it.
That has to be outright explained.
Yeah.
But there's other stuff going on that, like, even just stuff going around in the background or locations that the main character might visit once or twice, that like they're obviously very important parts of the world, and they don't like sit there and be like, this is Edgar Allan Poe and he is in a rundown hotel that nobody ever comes to because they're dumb and blah 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 blah. It just like you kind of just get that by him interacting with Poe.
And people like
Edgar Allan Poe is kind of a bad thing, because they do constantly explain that nobody goes to AI hotels anymore.
Well, they do. They sprinkle it.
Well, yeah,
it's not like they don't
explicitly
talk about. Well,
it's not like
they
he's
mention
like,
it a couple
what's an AI
times, but-
hotel? Well, AI hotels.
Okay.
You don't want to go to one of those. Those are bad. It's like Poe will be like, oh my god, a customer. I haven't had a customer in forever.
Well, they did specifically
before
say,
that they say you shouldn't stay at.
It's an AI hotel, and nobody goes to those anymore. That
Oh,
Ortega says that, and then the other guy says that when he's like, you went to an AI hotel? Oh yeah, these guys are crazy. The AIs get really touchy,
right.
like a crazy girlfriend.
Well, that kind of leads me. I guess that scene that kind of leads me to the main character. He is like, I feel like he is a like cornerstone kind of brooding action hero, right? Like, but the way that you see the world through him is really interesting, because the idea is that he's an envoy, and envoys are good at like they're just trained. They're not like specially augmented or anything. He's just kind of trained to see every situation and analyze every little bit of detail, see how people talk, how they react to things, etc., etc. And there's a couple scenes that exemplifies it, where it just like very quickly flashes through a couple of things that other people said that he's remembering, and you're getting this feel for like, wow, he's pulling information out of things that would be inconsequential to anything else. And like they say, yeah, envoys are good at doing this, but like
But they show you. They do a lot of showing rather than telling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They do a good idea of showing a lot of stuff rather than just a bunch of exposition, you know. So that I think is what I like the most about the show, and I can't really go into a lot more without spoilers, but just the world they've created, and the main character feels, like I said, a little generic action hero, but I actually liked a lot of the other characters and the costume design, the
See,
set design.
I kind of disagree a little bit on the main character. I thought that he was set up to be kind of generic from the beginning, but over time they actually flesh out his character more and more, and by the end of it, you feel like he's more of a character than you started with.
Yeah,
That's definitely how I felt. And it's not like
I can feel that.
it's not so much that they develop his character over the course of the series. It's more that they reveal the character or to you over the series. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't know. What are your thoughts, though?
Here's where I'm at with it, and this sort of came to me like at the very last episode. What this show feels like is that at some point in time there was a man, and of course this isn't like a theory of what happened. This didn't happen.
This is just the
Straight.
feeling.
People will say no, it's not. This didn't happen. This show was created by a team of writers. That at some point in time there was a science fiction novel, a basic bitch military science fiction novel that was written.
This is
And that
actually
there
based
was
on
a
a book.
fan of the science fiction novel, right?
That's not where he's going with this. He already
The
told me.
fan of this science fiction novel loved it a bunch and loves the author. But little do they know, they're so much of a better writer than the author himself. So what they did is they wrote a fan fiction for this science fiction novel that takes place 200 years in the future and has a bunch of interesting characters that they created and put in this 200 years in the future place. And they took some of the characters from the science fiction novel and twisted them, but for the most part, especially the main character, they were dead set on keeping them exactly as they were in the book, and they're kind of generic. In fact, this sparked a conversation with me and Appledan about like how the Matrix ruined movies, with movies like
I don't get what you're saying at
Equilibrium.
all. Like I don't understand what your point is.
He's kind of saying that all
Okay.
of the characters that exist in the time that we are currently 250 years from when
Like for instance, Ortega and all of the police station, they're all like surprisingly good characters, really great. And then you have like
but he really
all of the envoy stuff seems like, okay, the Matrix ruined movies. This is a badass action man who's going to fight people. Congratulations. And it's so weird. And some of the dialogue, especially with these characters, feels really stilted and really just kind of midline action movie. But then you get to the world building, which is, like Dalsson said, fucking fantastic. It's a beautifully, incredibly well crafted world that feels like it was crafted by someone who had nothing to do with a couple of these
I don't
characters.
know. I think the main
It's
character
so
was
weird.
really nuanced. I thought that he was like, because there was such, he was constantly acting or saying one thing and acting like at odds with it. So
he was really good at like manipulating people. Not
no,
necessarily,
but that's
like,
not what it was.
manipulating,
Like,
like pulling strings.
that's what I'm saying. Like the reason why I thought the character was pretty nuanced was because he was constantly directly telling people, "I don't care about you. I'm just using you." But then any time when push came to shove, he would do the thing that would help them the most and not what would benefit him the most. So there was like, maybe his like delivery was kind of stilted in the way that he was presented, but I think as a character he was actually pretty nuanced with how he acted versus what he said.
Right. I
I saw that like over and over again, like the way that he treated the black dude, I forget his name.
Yeah, I don't remember his name.
Separate from how he treated the doctor, separate from how he treated the guy's wife. Like this was like 3 separate ways that he did the most effective thing for that person without really needing to or benefiting him. And he went out of his way to save Ortega and went out of his way to save Ortega.
Well,
no, listen to me.
Guy who really does have a heart of gold.
But he saved Ortega in a way that would be most beneficial to her. he didn't just save Ortega's stack. He like intentionally saved Ortega in a way that wouldn't mess up her relationship with her family. Like that was farther than he needed to go, really.
Mm-hmm.
So I just over and over again, I just felt like the way that he, and this is again goes to like showing versus telling. It was like any situation in which he was telling you what he thought or meant or whatever, almost always was at odds with how he actually acted. So you get a better feeling of who he is from what he does, not from what he says.
Mm-hmm. I think what the chief hang up that Thel got, and like Thel, you didn't dislike it, like, even
no. It was
right?
even like the writing stuff. What I'm saying is that it wasn't bad. It was just generic. Yeah, and like even like the things that Saine is saying,
it's like
that's just kind
to
of
put a
asshole with the heart
criticism
of,
to it.
yeah, that's just asshole with the heart of gold.
I don't
right?
think
It's like,
I don't think that's very.
Are you
the
sure?
way that it
because
was
eventually,
done.
in the final confrontation, it did come down to I have a bunch of friends, so I win.
I
and,
think
like,
it's
he was really...
it's distinct from asshole with a heart of gold because of how it was presented. Like it wasn't
I
just.
kind of see what you're saying. Like he isn't like being an asshole because he wants to maintain this rough exterior. He's being an asshole because of the way that he's like trying to interact with the world. God, I don't know. I kind of I can't really put it into words. I understand what you're saying, but I don't really know like how to explain it differently.
Yeah, it's like.
But I think the major hang up that Thel has was more so just the dialogue. Everything else about it.
The characterization I did have a hang up with.
I don't know. I just think this is just somewhere I think we're just going to blatantly disagree because I think that he was a really interesting character. He didn't seem like he was going to be an interesting character, especially early on, but I thought he was really interesting. Who I actually didn't like was the other character related to him. That was a character I had a bigger problem with. I don't want to talk about her because because that would be a big spoiler, kind of. But
it's the person that's revealed.
Yeah, halfway through.
Not even halfway through.
So I had a question.
No, I think it's like exactly halfway through.
Yeah,
exactly halfway.
Yeah, because he starts having flashbacks.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah.
So you know about them.
Yeah.
Now I have a question. Is that the same person that he was with in the very beginning, like when he got captured, or was
no? Because there's two. There's one who's the rebel leader, and then there was that character. He had two separate moments where he talked to a flashback of that character and a flashback of the other character. So
okay,
those were distinct characters, but it was a little confusing.
It confused me because they looked relatively similar. They both had like the dreadlock lady hair. I'm a big bad merc kind of thing going on.
I mean, one was black and one was white, but that's
really. Well, she had dreadlocks. I think that's.
I think the issue was that early on you don't know the significance of these characters because they don't really tell you who they are initially.
Yeah.
And then later on they kind of go into who those characters are. But actually, I don't know. Like, I thought the characterization of that character that shows up halfway through is a lot more stilted and very.
I definitely think that character is weak.
Yeah. I thought that was a weaker character than the main character.
And I won't disagree with that. That one did feel a little bit funky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really liked Edgar Allan Poe. He was a really great character.
I'm glad that Edgar Allan Poe was a great character.
Again, like Edgar Allan Poe
his entire story arc was fantastic.
Yeah.
And then
and he was cool because he wasn't just Edgar Allan Poe. He was
like an AI who
he was an AI who presented himself as Edgar Allan Poe. So it was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like his whole story arc I really liked. Like I didn't think like it gets into spoiler territory towards the end, but the project that Edgar Allan Poe is working on winds up helping them a lot. And I thought that like when I first saw it come into action, I was like, oh, here we go. But then like as that little bit of the ending of the plot kind of progressed, I was like, wow, actually that was really cool. That was really well handled. I liked it a lot.
I just liked how in general a lot of the plot lines converged in an interesting way.
Yeah,
and
things
even
converge together really.
my hangups
really
with that
nicely.
particular character aside, I like that they kind of explained how a lot of it got set in motion anyway. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah.
So I thought that the characterization of that character wasn't great, but I thought that how they used it was good. I don't know if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Mhm. I think it wrapped up nicely. That is another point. It wrapped up like it was a like one little thread, and then it kind of like unwound, and then at the end they all just kind of came spiraling back together. Like
Yeah, and like as a mystery, this is
everything got
really,
closed.
really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
It's like the world building built into the mystery,
Right.
And it
in a
was
really, really
like,
great way.
plot wise, it was kind of a detective story. He was
Yeah,
trying to
it
figure
was
everything
entirely a
out, and
detective
he
story.
finally did.
Yeah.
Well, he found out something, and then it led into him finding out more about why that happened in the first place, kind of.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It
So
also
it was
led
kinda
into him
cool. It was
finding
like- it was a very
deeper
layered story.
conspiracies that he
Yeah.
thought were unconnected, and then all turned out to be. It was really nice.
And I think
Yeah.
one of the coolest things about how they used that character, and this is outside of his characterization, but how they used the main character was interesting because he wasn't like there were definitely things he was not used to going through the show as well. So you were learning things with him through a lot of the show, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's why I think it was beneficial to have him be like an outsider, because we don't know anything like that. That's what I think benefited the world building the most. We don't know anything about this world. They have to present it all to us. So even during the times where they just have to directly explain something to somebody, it didn't feel like it was just needless exposition. It was like, he's from 250 years ago, so of course they have to explain this to him. And as they're explaining these small bits of information to him, we get them too. It made it feel less. It made it feel less exposition-y, even in the parts where it was just exposition.
Right. What did you think about the look and feel, Thel? Like,
The look and feel was great. I felt like as far as like the atmosphere, I feel like it could have been paced a little bit slower, but they had a bunch of stuff they had to get through.
no, I mean in
Like,
terms of like,
visually,
yeah.
it's about as good as like a syndicated television show can look. It was pretty.
well,
goddamn
I
good.
was saying more of the cyberpunk theme. Do you think it was
Oh,
more Blade Runner esque, or do you think it was? Because we were talking about this a little bit last time we were talking about Altered Carbon, but
It to me it almost felt more like Shadowrun than Blade
Yeah,
Runner, which
yeah.
isn't a big distinction, but just because I don't like.
yeah, I don't know. I
in-
would almost think the
there was a lot
opposite,
of-
but
there was a lot of rundown stuff in Blade Runner, but it had this really like, here are the slums and here are the rich dudes.
it was
that
almost
was
like
almost the main
Judge
plot
Dredd
point.
esque, right?
Yeah,
That's a good comparison.
Okay, so why don't we move on? How long?
Sure.
We've been going almost an hour. We've talked about only a couple of things,
Just movies, yeah.
Yeah.
and we haven't even gone into games, which is probably good because there's not much news.
Yeah,
a little bit of
Yeah.
movie news. Let's talk
Which
about
games
games.
should we talk about first? Which
Uh,
one do we want to go with? Which one we want to do?
Why don't we start with stuff that we've all played? So, how about
why don't we start
How
with
about-
Kingdom Come?
yeah?
Okay.
I was gonna say, how about Kingdom Come?
Okay. Who wants to start with Kingdom Come?
Though, why don't you start? I think actually you've put the most time into it.
Yeah. I really like Kingdom Come. I was a little bit surprised to hear that a lot of people had a lot of problems with it, specifically with the saving system. I have, truth be told, I have gotten the farthest, but I haven't gotten super far. I've gotten through the game a little bit.
Did you get to the point where it opens up, or is it still very much tutorial land?
I've gotten to that point. I've done like multiple quests and multiple stuff that can be done over multiple days or just on the same day. Yeah, it's a very interesting game.
I'm in the
very
garrison
open,
right now.
a bunch of stuff. The combat's really fun.
The garrison.
Really? Because actually,
After-
that was my chief complaint with it. I kind of hate the
Really?
combat.
Really?
Of
Did you get to the
everything, I
point-
just really don't like
Okay.
the combat that much.
So
Okay.
I'm not talking about in the beginning city before you run away, the sword fighting tutorial. Did you get to the second sword fighting tutorial?
Probably
Because
not.
there's a point where you become a squire and he teaches you
Yeah, I
how
haven't
to
gotten that far yet.
actually sword fight.
Yeah,
If
that's
you
like
do-
4 hours into the game.
It's,
Though.
yeah, it's like 4 hours into the
So
game.
I
but
fought. Okay, so I did the sword fighting tutorial, and then
Mhm.
I also beat the crap out of the guy with the fists, and I actually won that fight. But it was just very much like a lot of just running backwards, and then
yeah,
moving
so,
forward so that you can like use your mouse to like attack from an angle. Like I just really don't like how it controls.
So here's an interesting thing about it is that you have all of these options from the very beginning of the game, but because you are not a skilled fighter, the character doesn't know about them, and as such, the game has not taught you about these things.
Yeah.
When you get to like basically when somebody makes you a squire, and then a knight
like,
will
he puts you on
actually
the guard.
will teach you
Guard.
about actual sword fighting, then he's like, okay, you have all of these options available to you when you are fighting with the sword.
Yeah.
Let me teach you how to do them. And these were all things that you could have done. It's not like you unlock new abilities. It's
I
just
don't mean so much.
It makes the combat more nuanced.
I don't mean
Yeah.
so much the options in the combat. I just mean like actually controlling the combat just feels bad.
Mm-mm.
I don't like that I have to use my mouse as an 8-point gate in order to like determine the direction of attack. That makes
Right.
sense. It just doesn't.
It-
I almost feel like I would almost rather play the game with controller just because using the mouse to fight feels like shit.
Yeah, I
So-
could see that. I think Thel and I didn't have any problems with it because it's very similar to how Mountain Blade controls with
Yeah.
its sword fighting, and we played a lot of that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would rather it control more like chivalry.
Ugh,
I'd
but
be
Chivalry was,
more
like,
into it if
so-
it was closer to chivalry.
But see, like Thel also made that comparison. Chivalry was more like
Well, I made that comparison before I actually played the game.
right. Chivalry, like to me, it felt like really dumb because like yeah, it had these ideas of how it wanted you to do these things, but really what you would do is just take your sword, hold it in front of you, and then duck completely forward in like a
My problem with
90-degree
chivalry-
angle. And,
My problem with chivalry was not how it worked. It was how it actually worked. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
Like my problem with chivalry was not, swinging at people and stuff. It was the fact that people in the game like knew how to like
Abuse
use
it.
basically abuse the physics in the game to their advantage. And the reason why I don't think that would even be a problem in this game is if it was in a single player game, I wouldn't give a shit about that.
right.
Like if you wanted to do the advanced tactics of like, I don't know, feinting and then doing like the duck to like look down and then look up so that it increases your attack speed and like all that stuff, if it's in single player as an advanced technique, that's fine, but the base actual hitting dudes was better, I thought, than Kingdom Come is. I don't know.
It has that's another thing. It has a system for feinting and blocking and stuff
Yeah,
like
I know
that.
it has, but
And like perfect blocks.
no, but like
Um,
in Chivalry, feinting was a button. You pushed F. Right.
right.
In this
Right.
game, I haven't gotten that far, but I'm pretty sure it's a little bit more complicated than pushing F.
A little bit.
Yeah.
In order to feint, you have to start an attack from one angle and then move like hold the mouse from one angle and then move and then declare your attack. So you'll
Well,
like,
no,
go like
you can
this,
also
and then...
attack and then cancel your attack in mid swing and then change
In
direction
Chivalry?
and then hit again. Yeah, no, in Kingdom Come, because I was looking through the controls. You can cancel attack mid swing.
Yeah.
You can also do that in Chivalry, but
right.
actually, it's even more annoying in Chivalry because it also like animation cancels and shit too. So it's like even more stupid. But
Right. See, I think like as far as like the very first thing I noticed when I started up Kingdom Come, the primary first thing is I thought my game was lagging because moving at very like 5-6 seconds in felt really jumpy. But it's because your head is like moving with your character's footsteps, right? And that's something
Like head bobbing.
like yeah,
That
like
didn't really.
just very slight head bobbing.
I didn't really like. I didn't think that at all. So.
It bothered me at first, right? But like within 5 or 6 minutes of the game, I just I started like ignoring it, just filtering out the head bobbing, and I didn't notice it. So it doesn't bother me at all, but it's there. And it's just because I think with this game what they're going for before anything else is realism.
Okay,
right?
I mean you say that, but here's where I'm at with the realism thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like I heard that going into the game. I'm like, oh, okay, this is supposed to be super realistic, but why am I reaching with my super long arms to grab shit? Like, why not just let me pick it up? Why do you have to do an animation of like my super long arms from a distorted angle grabbing shit? Like that's just dumb. I don't know. Like
that bothered me too. I was like, okay, so I have to like move.
Super realistic game, but I can look down at my body and see like super gangly arms and stuff. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I like the atmosphere of it. I like, the presentation of everything. I like the how characters talk to each other and stuff. I like all of that stuff. It's just like a lot of the actual gameplay part is kind of janky to me, and I don't. There are things I just don't like.
Yeah. That I want to point out about it. I think the writing in this game is like incredible. It is one of the most well-written games I've played.
That's what saves the game for me, kind of at all, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And just the atmosphere and tone of it and stuff. And it does look pretty good.
Yeah.
Also, we were talking about the faces and stuff, I think, last week.
Uh-huh.
So I've come to the conclusion that the trailer was just bad.
Yeah.
Because I went back and watched the trailer. The faces in the trailer look like crap, and I don't know what happened because in the game it looks fine, but in the trailer it looks awful. So
maybe they were playing it on a low-end PC, which is really weird for a game development company.
I was playing it on a low-end PC, and the faces didn't look that.
No, I don't know. It's just I think that they maybe early on they had a different way of rendering faces or something. Maybe they were like trying to rotoscope it or something, but I don't know. Like it just doesn't. It looked weird.
Like now you see why I say, oh, it's not that bad. I never watched the trailer. I didn't know.
Yeah.
That the trailer was that.
And that was just, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, because it was very much like me acknowledging that I had that like very
like negative
like first impression of it. Yeah, but really, it was just a weird artifact in the trailer, and I have no idea why. So
right. So it looks fine in game, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it looks fine in game.
At all. Yeah.
Other than the weird distortion you get on your own body, but that's
what I thought. I see, because I had only played it and not watched the trailer. I thought you were just being like way too overly critical of it. And
well, you know me, I'm not super overly critical like that. It looked really fucking weird in the trailer. Okay, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. No, so like I also haven't seen the weird, and I was like, I disagree with you entirely. And now that you've played it and seen, oh, it's just the trailer, we're on the same page. So you see why I had no idea what you were talking about, basically.
Yeah, I mean, they don't look awesome. It's not like the best faces I've ever seen, but they're not bad.
I mean, they're better than like
they're better than like
Skyrim on release.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe
vanilla Skyrim.
Yeah, they're better than
maybe
vanilla.
Maybe not. Yeah, well, I don't know. I think the problem with Skyrim is just everything's low texture.
Yeah.
So
the textures in this game are not awesome either, but they're not awesome in the way of like, I'm playing Counter-Strike and now I'm gonna slam my face right up against the wall. Oh, look at how shitty these textures are. Like, you don't notice it when you're playing, because that's not really the focus of the game.
Also, I think oh, go ahead.
When I'm playing this game, I'm constantly thinking, oh, this looks really pretty, because I'm used to it looking not like I'm used to like looking at Mount Blade.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, oh yeah, this looks really pretty in comparison to a game that looks like fucking trash.
The one singular thing that I find interesting is that they are going for like a very realistic type of of medieval game. Like it wants to
Yeah.
truly portray medieval times, but
The
they
restaurant.
have a strange alchemy type of system as well. So like the save system that will come up later, I see in the news here, but the save
Yeah.
system,
I was
you
actually
have
going to
to
touch
drink-
on it in this
you have to drink
conversation,
something
but
called save your schnapps in order to save your game.
save your
which-
schnapps. Yeah.
Schnapps.
Yeah.
It's just it's alcohol, but from a game mechanic standpoint, that saves your game so you can reload there.
And
I
it's
wanna
addictive
compare
and
that-
expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to compare that really quick to Fallout 4 survival mode. In Fallout 4 survival mode, the only way you could save your game
also you
at
can
all-
also sleep in a bed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can
That'll
sleep
save-
in a bed,
Yeah,
and then it'll give you the
sleeping-
option to save.
sleeping- Yeah.
That's good that you brought that up before I compared it to Fallout 4
Yeah.
survival mode. So in Fallout 4 survival mode, in an effort to make the game more hardcore for hardcore gamers, make it more like Dark Souls, the only way that was possible to save your game was by sleeping in a bed. No auto saves, no quick saves, nothing. The only thing you could do is sleep in a bed. And I want to stress, no auto saves. When you zone through a building or anything, you don't save. The first time I tried Fallout 4 survival mode, I really liked most of it, but my problem was my game would crash and I would lose literally 4 to 5 hours.
But
of
really,
progress
that's
from
the
that.
crux of the issue. Is not that you had your saves restricted. It was that Fallout would crash all the time.
Exactly.
And this game,
I
like
experienced
with
a
all
couple
of the
crashes
issues
in
it
this game.
has, I have not actually crashed in.
Yeah.
I crashed a couple times while I was streaming, but I think that was because OBS was eating up too much of my computers to stream this game. So unfortunately, I can't be
Yeah.
streaming this game. That
What-
makes
though
me a
one,
little
one
sad.
of the one of the things about this game is it's really badly optimized.
Yeah, which they intend to do.
Yeah, they said in the next 2 weeks they're gonna do another optimization pass, so maybe that'll help.
Oh,
but,
good. Yeah.
But-
and actually, the other thing I would recommend is getting the NVIDIA Game Ready driver, because that helps
Yeah.
my computer quite a
that-
bit.
Yeah, same.
That said, back to the point of comparing to Fallout 4 survival mode, it has a similar mechanic. It has limited saves essentially, but when you go through a zone line, when you finish a major story beat, it auto saves for you.
It
I
does
don't think
not
it's
save when you
zone-
go through a zone.
Yeah,
line.
it's not a zone line. It's only at major story beats to save.
Really?
Yeah, like it feels like every other story beat it saves. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Like sometimes
I
you'll
think-
get to like a checkpoint and then
Yeah.
you'll go back like 2 checkpoints.
Hence major. I think it's like when
Yeah.
something important has happened.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
can also use your bed,
Yeah.
like we mentioned, so you can sleep in your bed for like an hour, and it'll give you the option to save.
I think it also
Yeah.
auto saves when you fast travel.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I'm not sure. Okay, but in any case, the point is it auto saves.
Yeah.
If you die,
There is an autosave.
it's auto saved maybe an hour away, which is still a lot of progress that you can lose, and it doesn't feel great. But
Yeah.
I feel like it auto saves often enough that the savior schnapps are there for when you want to quit quickly,
Yeah.
and the
Well-
auto saves are sufficient.
Or
The
when
problem
you want to
hit-
save scum.
The problem with that is, if you use the savior schnapps to, if you use it right before something important that you need to do, like fight someone,
Uh-huh.
it makes you drunk, which is a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
So actually, there is a bit of news here. The developer acknowledged that is like one of the major complaints of the game, and said that he or the team is going to kind of meet players halfway and add a save and exit feature. So you can just it won't let you just save willy-nilly, but it kind of, in the way some roguelikes do it, let you save and then just exit right there, so that when you start, you can, like, that'll make it easier to quit when suddenly, oh shit, something's happening, I have to leave my computer. You don't
And
have
then
to
you
like
don't have
go
to
through the
waste-
issue of using an expensive item that is addictive and could fuck you up in the next thing you're doing.
That's
Yeah.
good. I think save and quit is a good system because
Yeah.
the intention behind the save your schnapps is so that you can't just save whenever you want. You can't save like right before something important happens, or like save before a important choice, because at its
Yeah.
core, it's a CRPG.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, that doesn't matter. CRPGs, you have quick save and quick load all the time, but
right,
Yeah.
but
This is a CRPG that doesn't want you to save
it's a
stuff ever.
CRPG that doesn't want you to do that. So if you fuck up a choice, it wants that choice to either be permanent or lose a couple hours of progress.
Yeah.
So
I think that is still more comparable to roguelikes than anything else.
probably, yeah.
I think the closest comparison would be like Alona,
Yeah.
which is a Japanese roguelike that I used to play a lot.
Yeah.
That, because honestly, like, most CRPGs encourage you to quick save and quick load because they're almost designed in a way that assumes you're going to save scum.
Yeah.
As
that's
we've
true.
noticed with Divinity,
Yeah.
which is
It
very
is
much
also
in the same
reason
vein.
we're not doing a let's play of it anymore, because it's fun to play, probably not fun to watch with as much as we load.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we'd play for like an hour and then load back until before we started that fight because we died. So
Yeah,
this was not
exactly.
fun. But yeah.
So, but in any case, the point of the save your schnapps system is to keep you from doing that, to basically to prevent you from save scumming. And if there's a save and exit feature, then I feel like save scumming won't really be a problem.
Yeah,
and
I think
it
that
keeps the intention of that.
I think that that's a good compromise
Yeah.
for what the devs intend. That being
'Cause
said, there's
if-
already a mod that lets you save as much
whatever
as you want.
yeah.
So
that doesn't surprise
there's
me.
also he also said he was, or the Warhorse team also said they were intending to update the lockpick system a little bit to make that a little bit easier, because that is a major complaint for a lot of people apparently.
I didn't feel that was too hard, but that's just me.
I think it has to do with the way that the circle is like truncated,
Yeah.
because it's so almost similar to like Fallout. There's no like real points of reference even for what you're doing apparently.
Well, yeah, not only that, but it's definitely
Have
like
you lockpicked
I've not,
anything yet,
I've not.
Saine?
Oh.
You have to lockpick something once.
at some
If you
point,
never do it again, you will have to lockpick once in order to go through a story beat.
Yeah.
Basically,
Well, I'm
there's-
sure I'll get to the tutorial. I don't really
Oh,
need
yeah.
an explanation of it. I just
But yeah,
am
so,
saying
yeah,
that's a thing.
One of the
Right.
things about lockpicking that I found was kind of weird. I usually have my mouse speed set pretty high, and I felt like if I lowered my mouse speed, I would be better at lockpicking. That was kind of a problem with me. It's like if I did this, I would be better.
Very
rather
basic
than,
idea
like,
is you have to
practicing.
find the spot, the sweet spot, and it tells you the sweet spot. Then you have to start turning the lock, and the lock will rotate, but you have to keep it within the sweet spot on the lock rotating.
Yeah.
While it rotates.
That's weird.
So
I don't know why they would do it that way, because I don't think old locks work that way. But I think
I don't
old locks work the most similar to Skyrim's pin system, actually.
yeah.
Or not
yeah,
Skyrim,
Oblivion.
Oblivion.
Yeah.
The problem with
Um,
Oblivion's lock picking though is if you are too good at it, you never would need to like put like practice
Skill
it.
points into it. Yeah.
I don't
Right.
think you could skill point in Oblivion anyway, because it actually functions very similar to how Kingdom Come does, where the more you do something.
No, yeah, you level up and then you go sleep and then you gain all of these. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I remember.
So, do we have anything else to say on that before we move on?
I think that's about it. I haven't
think
played
that's
a whole
about
lot
it.
of
Yeah,
so,
I've really been enjoying it.
Yeah, okay. I want to put more time into it, but there's like a million things going on.
Yeah.
A million different games going on.
Yeah.
Why don't we talk about Metal Gear Survive next? Because we also played
Okay.
that.
I don't know that there really is much to talk about. We only played
Yeah, it might
the
be quick
early
then.
access demo.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
thought it.
so
thought
we
it was
played-
fun for.
yeah, we played the open
It's like-
beta this last weekend.
It was
Yeah.
like, it was like just a horde defense game, and it was in the Metal Gear engine,
Fox engine.
the Fox engine, and I mean that's all it really felt like as far as the beta goes. It was just you defended from hordes of zombies, and that was it.
I actually found it a lot more fun than I expected. Although, I don't know, I've been kind of on the fence about it in general. Like, I've been seeing trailers and stuff where I'm like, that looks actually kind of fun because I like just how moving around feels in the Fox engine.
Right.
And honestly,
I liked it better than I thought I would. Yeah. But I didn't like it. I don't know. I'm not like, oh, now I've got to buy this game because the beta was so fun. If anything, I'm like, well, I mean, I
might buy it.
That happened. Yeah, it's like,
I think I might buy it because I refunded a game on Steam this last week, so I have enough for it exactly.
Right.
So and I'm really curious about the single player, even though I'm not typically interested in survival games. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I just really love the way it feels to move around in that engine. Everything feels weighty and I don't know. It feels good.
It reminded me of Resident Evil multiplayer. I don't remember which it was. I think it was the Mercenaries on the 3DS. That's what it kind of reminded me of. Just defending from waves of zombies, like you and a buddy, and then you have to like survive amongst.
Well, that mode was also in 5 and 6, but
was it? Okay, yeah, right. Mercenaries mode. But the one that I put the most time into was the one on the 3DS, and like, you kind of like. You get kills, you level up your perks and stuff, you get new abilities, and I don't know. It sounds really generic, and it kind of is, but that's all I got from the beta. The beta didn't have the single-player mode. Maybe the single-player mode has more going on. I think the most unique aspect of it, surprisingly, is the fortification building.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that actually felt kind of good in terms of, like, a building system in a game. Like, I don't know. In a weird way, it was very similar to Fortnite without being similar to Fortnite. If that makes any sense.
It was very similar to Fortnite, period. It was not similar to Fortnite's Battle Royale.
Well, no, because I don't know. Yeah. Even in Fortnite, it feels like things click. Like, to spots. You know what I mean?
Right,
like, it's on a tile system, almost. Whereas this was a lot more freeform, which I thought was cool.
Right.
And actually, but someone did come in and say, like, is this Fortnite but IRL mode?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it actually was very similar to Fortnite. But the guns felt better and they felt weightier, and I don't know.
They felt like you were shooting a gun instead of a plastic toy.
Yeah, marshmallow Nerf gun.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like all of that sort of hammered in. Like the problem I had with it, playing the game made me feel depressed. Because everything was just directly straight from Metal Gear Solid 5, from the loading icon to these, like...
Except one thing I wish they might have kept was the control scheme.
Oh,
which was just is just better in Metal Gear Solid 5, so I don't know why they changed it, but...
Yeah.
Well, probably the reason they changed it was to make melee weapons work a bit better, because I don't think there were melee weapons in Metal Gear Solid 5 other than like the knife, or something.
And it's weird because like the melee weapons in this game, even after I got the dodge, I didn't feel like they were that super like all that much better than like the guns. I enjoyed shooting the guns, but I didn't like using the melee weapons.
Well, I thought they're not better than guns. They're worse than guns. I think the only benefit of them was
like as far as like how they felt to use, not necessarily like how they work.
I didn't mind them. I thought that it could be tuned better, for sure. I agree that
that's one of the reasons I think primarily that it reminded me of Resident Evil, because you had to sit there and ready your weapon and then fire. Even for melee weapons, you had to ready and then shoot while standing still.
See, I wish. Okay, so the thing about like weapons like that is, I wish that they were. So one of the things I liked about the melee weapons was that they didn't feel floaty, right? But I wish that it was more similar to something like Dark Souls in terms of how the weapons felt, rather than something like, I don't know, Devil May Cry or whatever, as an example. Right. Like, I didn't want it to feel floaty and loose, and I liked that it felt heavy and, like, methodical, but Dark Souls has a much better feeling combat system in general. So
I don't think that's a fair comparison because Dark Souls is entirely based on the combat system. It has nothing else going for it, basically. The combat system is what is Dark Souls.
I mean, that's fair because Dark Souls doesn't have a lot of ranged weapons, really. And the ranged weapons don't feel that great in Dark Souls. But I think that like it does feel like the way that they changed the control scheme was to serve the way they tacked on melee weapons in Survive.
Yeah.
And I understand that, and I'm not gonna sit here and argue that it's a great system because it's not great. But I thought it was okay. I thought it was good enough for what it was trying to do, so I didn't mind it. But I could see how you would totally not like it. Like I get it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what else to say about that. I wish it was a bit better. And I don't think it's a super unfair comparison to compare it to Dark Souls, but like I also see what you're saying there. I just wish that they would have tightened it up a little bit, like figured out some way to make it feel better. Like maybe just when you equip a melee weapon, they just don't force you to aim with it. Like that would be I don't think they force you to aim. Like you can still, I think with the spear you don't have to
You can still attack.
Yeah, I think you can just attack, but I don't know. It just doesn't feel super good. Probably because it is bolted on, right? It is a shooting system that they forced a melee weapons in. So
and they almost actively discourage you from shooting in a system that is primarily
built around
which is funny.
shooting.
Yeah, but
and I feel like with the other classes, there's more like focused on.
Yeah,
I also think
it only gave you like one class to choose from.
This wasn't a beta; this was a demo.
Yeah,
I also think that it was a server stress test is what it actually was.
Yeah.
But I think what would have and it was pretty early on. Like later game, maybe you got like more guns and easier access to ammo, and it wasn't like a big deal. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Well, you could only carry so much ammo. So as far as the beta was, so maybe
but you can get bandoliers and shit,
right?
Which increases your ammo capacity. And I did get like a quiver that increased my bow capacity, but the bow kind of felt like super garbage. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But it might have just been because the time that I took the bow, we were going on like a hard mode,
a harder mission,
which I don't think is scaled to be like a more difficult version. I think it's just a
like level scale,
more numbers, like higher, bigger numbers,
exactly.
Which it is what it is. Like that's, I mean, I don't know. Games like I can't think of a game off the top of my head. But other games do stuff like that all the time. It's not that weird of a
thing. Payday.
RPGs.
No, Payday actually does get harder.
Oh yeah. Payday has like different enemies and stuff that come. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but they're enemies that are practically like even discounting the DLC, which is the main issue with Payday that everybody has.
Well, no, I'm trying to think. That's not even what I don't even want to go into Payday. But I'm just saying like that was there are other games that kind of do that. Like you're not meant to play the second level until you have finished the first level or whatever. Yeah, Diablo, perfect.
Yeah.
Like you're not supposed to do a hard mode Diablo until you do the first normal one because you can't.
You can.
You can't, and even if you could, the enemies are level 40, so you have to be level 40.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why you can't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of intrigued with this game. I might pick it up anyway. It is $40. Like I don't know. It'll make Thel sad.
Yeah.
Speaking of
I don't believe anyone should pay for this game.
Do we have any final thoughts on Metal Gear Survive?
No, I think
yeah, I think that's about it.
I played a game. I only played it for about an hour and a half. It was called Imperium. And essentially it is a Diablo clone at its core. Diablo clone at this point is a genre.
Yeah.
But it's
first-person shooters used to be called Doom clones.
No.
I don't remember that, but I know of that.
Anyway, go on.
So Imperium is interesting. I tried it out. Now, the only thing you may have heard of this, the only thing I can imagine you hearing of this game is that recently they added a a
Very cool.
mode, a difficulty setting called Bitcoin mode, which will ping the Bitcoin servers to see how expensive Bitcoin is at the moment, and then it will load all of the enemies at a higher or lower difficulty. Basically, the difficulty is variable based on the price of Bitcoin at the time, which is the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard. And also, I played it on Bitcoin mode. It makes the loading times minutes, because every time you enter a new map, it has to check the Bitcoin. It loads per map. So every time you enter a new map, it has to check Bitcoin's
I
prices.
think that might be Bitcoin's fault right now.
Yeah,
Probably.
currently.
But in any case, like having to ping that.
Yeah, but
to
I
see
don't
what the
feel.
price
I
is-
feel like that's like almost a joke mode. Like I don't think that's how anyone's actually intended to play the game. I know that it is a mode and it should just work, but like,
Yeah.
Well, what they said when they added it, I actually read their thoughts on it, and they said they wanted to have some kind of variable difficulty mode, but they didn't know what to tie it to, and so they decided on Bitcoin because the game is a futuristic game, and Bitcoin is the currency of the future. That's a direct quote.
Okay.
Which is also the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. But
Okay, yeah.
well, I don't
Go
know.
on.
I don't think that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, but it is
okay,
pretty
okay,
ridiculous.
it's pretty ridiculous.
It's there. It's in the
Um,
ridiculous sphere.
because this game like plot wise is kind of like Starship Troopers type sci-fi. It's not like a hard sci-fi like, oh, Bitcoins are the currency they're going to use on Star Trek. It's like you're going around
if it's
killing
like Super
bugs.
Trooper, then I almost feel like
Starship Troopers.
or yeah, Starship
Super Troopers is totally
yeah,
different.
yeah. I always
And
say I always mix those two up. If it's like Starship Troopers, I almost feel like tying it to Bitcoin makes more sense. That almost feels right.
Well, Starship
Okay.
Troopers was
it feels like the right kind of
giant,
ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I
Well,
have
here's the thing.
a
Starship
big
Troopers was a giant jab at like authoritarian in fascism. That was the whole point of it.
Yeah, but it was
Fair.
a cheesy, campy, giant bug movie, regardless.
I was talking about the book. Which the thing
movie.
is, it
I
was
was
a
talking
cheesy,
about the
campy
movie.
thing, but it
Whoever
was entirely
who talks about Starship Troopers the book? When was the last time you ever heard somebody talk about the book Starship
legitimately.
Troopers?
I always bring up the book whenever the movie comes up. And that's
whatever.
because a lot of people do see it as just a cheesy B movie, and it really wasn't. It was directed specifically to be that, but very subtly.
Sure,
It's
sure.
in like how the characters grow, right?
Sure. But when people talk about Starship Troopers,
What you're thinking of is Starship Troopers 2 and 3 and 4 and 5.
No, the
and when they
first one.
talk about it,
No, it's
that's what
okay. Look,
that's what people are referring to a bunch of crazy dudes killing bugs.
look,
Like
the reason like that is what makes the thing you were talking about, Thel, is what makes the cheesy B movie really work.
Right.
I don't
but-
know. It's part of the package, but at its core, it is still a cheesy B movie thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm referring to. It feels like a cheesy B movie. The cheesy B movie parts of Starship Troopers. That's what I'm referring to is the point.
Okay.
And I think maybe the reason I got that impression was because of my number one absolute most chief complaint about this game is it starts you out with zero context. And boy, does it really fuck the whole game up if you don't finish this mission. At the very beginning, and it only tells you this later, you are in a VR simulation. It gives you all kinds of abilities, a bunch of super crazy weapons, and it tells you, go kill bugs. Okay, go kill hives. Okay, go kill the queen. And I'm like, oh, this game is just this generic. We have no context on what we're doing. It's just like, oh, we wanted to make a Diablo clone, so here, let's do this. Additionally, during that tutorial mission, and only during the tutorial mission, the sound options are fucked up. The sound slider or the sound effects slider controls the music and the game volume, and the music is always so much higher than the game volume you cannot hear any sound effects. So
That
it
sounds
makes
more
the
like
game
a
feel
bug
really
than
bad.
anything else.
It is. but it's really like if you're going to if you're gonna have a bug in the tutorial mission, and I'll get to
Yeah,
it.
but
I'll get to it,
that's
okay.
just like the problem with focusing on that is like a bug is an unintended thing in the first place. So
Sure.
like I don't know if it's fair to harp on that a bunch because like yeah, it would be nice if that bug wasn't in the tutorial mission, but it's a bug. It's not supposed to be there in the first place. So
Sure, but here's what I'm here's the gist of what I'm trying to say. It, after you get past the tutorial mission, everything is fine. The sound sliders work fine, and that was the very first thing that turned me off to the game. When you start up a game, 95% of games will try to sell you with their first mission, or the first hour of the game or so, to try and get you to keep playing it. This tutorial mission has absolutely no reason to exist. It doesn't teach you anything. You don't get to keep anything from it. There are rampant bugs that are actually not in the rest of the game. It doesn't have like it just does not feel like the rest of the game feels. It gives you too much, and I get what they're going for. They're going for like the Metroid thing. It gives you a bunch of power stuff to see. Oh, look at all this stuff you might eventually be able to do. But it doesn't tell you about any of this stuff. It just drops you in. It's like, here you have a blink dash, you have all this
yeah,
damage over time field, and it's like
I
I don't know what it wants to do with that
don't
because
really
it doesn't
like
tell you.
yeah, I don't really like when games do that because I remember when Prototype came out, they did something very similar where they gave like you had all these powers and stuff, and then you had to do like basically an unwinnable mission, and then at the end of the mission they took like they didn't actually take anything away from you. They just went back in time to how like it actually like you got there.
Right.
It was like like the first chunk of the game is actually a flashback technically.
Right.
And I always hate when games do that because it's like why like I get that you want to show off how cool it is and stuff, but like it's not fun to show you a bunch of stuff and then take it away. That's just and Metroid's
right.
Even Metroid's a little bit different because a lot of times it's
Yeah.
like you don't have a large amount of time where you're actually playing with that stuff. Usually they take it away really early in Metroid.
And
Exactly.
If not
like,
in the first cutscene.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in Metroid, when you have like that stuff, you lose like a certain amount of stuff, and then you go and you get all of that stuff back, plus
And then
all this
you get,
other stuff.
and then after you
Yeah.
get all that stuff back in the first couple hours, you get more and more and more and more.
Well, yeah, but you
But-
haven't played more than like an hour anyway, so.
Yeah.
But
I
what it
agree
gave
with
me
that. I
was
don't like
stuff
when they
in
do
the
stuff like
skill
that for
tree.
sure.
It just gave me stuff that I could get in the skill tree. It started me out at level 20, which is like not the max level, but when you have all your skills unlocked, and you or the ability to put points in all your skills. It even made me level up a couple times. One of my missions was to put points into stuff. One of my missions was to deconstruct things into currencies and find new stuff. And then I lost all of that. Like,
It's kind of well, yeah, but sure. But like lots of games, again, lots of games kind of do similar things like that, and it always just kind of sucks. That being said, I wonder why. Like, I wonder if it was like they didn't think they needed a tutorial, and then someone complained about there not being a tutorial, so this was added on later, and that's why it might be more buggy. Maybe I don't know.
I feel like what they should have done is just give you those tutorial, like, it should have just been tooltips, like when you level up, it gives you a tooltip and say, okay, hey, now you can press K to open up your skills thing and put points in.
Yeah.
Or when
maybe
you
they were
when
just
you
trying to
get
be
your-
too clever about it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. And like it really turned me off to the game. The only reason I kept playing it was because I was streaming and I was like, well, I've got to fill time. Let's just push forward, right? But I feel like somebody who's like just taking a look at the game might not want to keep playing it like even up until the VR mission is done. And there's no because if my first impression of the game is, oh, there's no story, I start out at level 20, there's like I have all this shit already, where is there even to go in a Diablo clone? What is it trying to do to me? Like, what am I doing? And then
So what you're telling me is if you had actually bought this game rather than receiving a key, you probably would have returned it.
yeah,
That's what you're
I would
telling
have
me.
returned it before finishing the first mission.
Right.
But if they had just, because as soon as you finish that, it's like, congratulations on finishing your VR mission, recruit. You're ready for a real mission. And then it sends you out, and then it gives you it delivers you this long drawn out story about what you're doing. You're going down to this planet. There's a scientist who's trapped in a facility, and you have to go rescue them. And you get deployed into a city, and you have to ask all these people about where the scientist might be, and explore stuff, and it becomes a real game instead of just starting you out. Yep, you're going and killing some bugs. Go find your companion. That's it. It doesn't even tell me that I've crash landed. It's just here you are, kill bugs. And my first impression of the game was that it didn't have anything, there was nothing to it. It was just some mindless hack and slash Diablo thing.
I don't know, because I've played other games that do similar things, and I think
what it was trying to do was give you a cold open. But the problem is, with Diablo clones, one of the fun things is growing your character and getting stronger and stronger over
I think it probably just didn't work for this genre, but I wouldn't harp on it too much. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just turned I see why it turned you off, but there's no reason to really harp on it too much.
I'm kind of harping on it I'm saying the same thing over and over again basically. Yeah. But the end all be all, my point is that the game is good. It's a competent game, and if it didn't have that if you want to play it's good. Do play it and try to power through the tutorial mission, and know that nothing you do in that very first mission matters until it starts delivering you story, and then that's when the game is actually happening. That's my point.
Right.
It that really turned me off. I feel like it would be better if they just remove that segment from the game.
Yeah.
Now that said, in the actual game, I think I've already broken it because of a different combination of skills and weapons, and I'm level 3. But
it's hard to know sometimes.
Broken it in a good way. Yeah, sometimes it'll get harder,
Yeah.
Other than that, there's one other thing I want to point out, is that I feel like it's heavily inspired by Path of Exile because of the skill and currency system. So
does it have that big web tree thing?
It does not. But what it does have is you put skill points into certain skills, right? And then you have 6 or 7 active skills that you're able to have. And then any skill that you are not using it as an active skill, you can slot it into a different skill as a passive skill. So, for example, there's one where it makes your bullets explode. You can also slot that into an active skill, and it will make that active skill into an area skill instead of a single target skill. Or, you can slot your healing skill into an active skill, and it'll heal you a little bit every time you use that active skill. So that's reminiscent of the, gym linking system from Path of Exile. And then you sell items that you get for currencies, and the currencies I think you can use on merchants, but the more important thing that you do with them is you can use them on items to upgrade them from normal to rare, or add another affix, or re-roll the stats. And that is 100% definitely taken directly from Path of Exile.
Well, that's not necessarily a bad thing, is it?
No, it's not bad. I just think I just am kind of trying to give a feel for the game. It's pretty heavily inspired from Path of Exile on that aspect.
I mean, we've spent a lot of time on this game, and there's still 2 other games I haven't even talked about. So
okay, that's fair.
I don't know. I'm just not to rush you, but I have 2 other games that I want to talk about.
That was the last thing I wanted to say. I have one more game I want to talk about too that I just played. Should I go into that, or do you want to go through?
Why don't you go into that first?
Okay. So this latest game that I played maybe an hour ago, 2 hours ago, it was great. It is called Vicious Attack Llama Apocalypse, or Vala for short. I don't want to explain the whole plot of the game, but basically you work for a company that is Amazon, except they used llamas to deliver packages, and they fired all of the llamas because it was cheaper to use drones. So now the llamas are mad, and Amazon has sent out a mech suit to go and kill them. because they're rebelling or they're trying to take down Lamazon.
Here's a question.
Yes.
Do you deliver packages as your
No.
robot mech?
You do not deliver packages as your robot mech. Your entire point is to kill llamas. That's all you do. Well, that's not all you do, as I'll get into. But it works. You know, it's a twin stick shooter. So it's a top down kind of like you use your mouse to aim and you move around. You have a couple of abilities like you can jump up in the air and smash llamas, or you can dash around. There's all kind of things you can do. It's primarily skill based, but also it has a multitude of weapons that you can get. You can hold 2 weapons, fire with left or right mouse button, and you can get some pretty crazy combinations going on. And then as the game progresses, you get challenges, which you can complete the challenges in order to unlock new perks, which will either drop out of some of the llamas that you kill, or you have a chance to get them at the end of a stage. And the perks are things like bullet penetration. There is like you explode whenever you reload, stuff like that. Like just more llama slaughtering madness, right?
Okay.
And I think that the primary draw of the game, like you could just play any twin stick shooter, right? Why not? But the primary draw of the game, I think, is the humor. I was actually talking with the developer a little bit earlier, and he said that, pretty sure this was a joke, but he said that what he did first was write a book full of llama puns, and then he realized that nobody buys books anymore, so he made a game based around it. And
he seems like kind of a fun guy.
He seems like a cool guy, but boy, does it deliver. Like, every weapon is a llama pun. Like, I got the Falama thrower, which is a flamethrower, obviously. There's the laser with 2 L's. The game is fully voice acted. It has really good voice acting. Everything that talks to you is really funny. Like, every stage there's like a gate that'll scan you and say, "Did you kill all the llamas in this area? Okay, you may pass." And it sounds like almost like a Mr. Gutsy from Fallout, which of course I think they're hilarious because they're like super serious, but they say ridiculous shit. I think this game actually scared me more than any zombie horde. I actually made a mistake. I accidentally started calling the llamas zombies while I was playing it because you could just replace them with zombies, but then it wouldn't be as fun. And this game actually scared me more than any zombie horde twin stick shooter has, because occasionally they'll just send a fuck ton of llamas at you and they'll all come at you like making llama noises, and I'm like, "Oh Jesus, what's happening?" You know, the game's super exciting. It's not currently released.
Comes out next Monday, right?
Yeah, the release date on Steam is February 26th. So, I would say give it a shot. It has couch co-op. It doesn't sound like they have plans for local co-op, as the developer said. There were too many lawsuits.
You mean online?
Online co-op, yeah. There is local co-op. The developer said that they ran out of money from all the lawsuits over killing so many llamas, and so they couldn't add online multiplayer. But, you know,
again, that was probably a joke.
Of course. but that again, it kind of exemplifies the game's funny, and it has an actual plot line going on to it. And the other thing, I didn't quite get very far, but I got at least to the second like tile set, the second like set of levels. And the first set of levels just has you going through a city and just murdering llamas to advance through the city. But the second level, it looked like my mission was to find a scientist. It was sending me, speaking of find another scientist, it was sending me infinite waves of llamas, and I had to like explore through this facility to find my way to a scientist to rescue them. So it seems like there's more going on than just like twin stick shooter, try and survive, go through the level to get to the end, whatever that is. Like you have a legitimate objective. So yeah, I'd recommend this game. It's pretty fun.
You put what, like 3 hours into it so
I think maybe 2.5 at most. But yeah.
Yeah, 2.
It I've unlocked about half of the stuff in about 2 hours, so I don't know if there's a lot of longevity if you're really the kind of person who's really into like unlocking all kinds of stuff and getting more stuff every playthrough. But I mean, it's definitely a solid game. It has good voice acting, it has good graphics. You get to murder a lot of llamas. It's pretty hard, actually. There's no health pickups because that would be unrealistic. So every time you take damage, that damage sticks to you. So you're going to wind up replaying it and getting better and better as time goes on. It's not just like you get lucky with one run.
Well, that's cool. I'm excited to see you play more of that.
Yeah,
next week.
Yeah, it's pretty nifty. So why don't you go into your games that you played,
okay.
Saine?
So I picked up Secret of Mana this week. We actually tried to pick up 3 copies, but found out that it did not have online multiplayer, very oddly.
Yeah.
I expected a Square Enix remake of Secret of Mana to have online co-op, but
multiplayer. Especially when you can just do that with, like, emulators.
Yeah, you can do that with an emulator really easily.
I don't know why.
Well, sort of easy. I think it is still kind of... There are hurdles. And
you have to connect to IP, that's it. I've done it.
Well, anyway. So, this game is a remake. It's like a 3D remake of Secret of Mana.
Secret of Mana, yeah.
Kind of the funny thing about it, though, is... So it actually plays very similar, because I actually compared it to some older gameplay. This is the first time I've ever played Secret of Mana, but I compared it to some old gameplay, and gameplay is actually really similar anyway. Like, it's essentially identical. It's just a little bit more analog. Like, your character actually rotates instead of being, like, a sprite.
Full square.
Yeah. But the funny thing is, kind of, that they have a mini-map in the game, which is like a tile-based mini-map. So it's like they have the old map in the corner so that you don't get lost, because some of the like 3D geometry, you might be like, can I actually make it through that like space? But so you have to like consult the map, the like 2D map to see, okay, on the tile set it looks like I can't go that way. So it's like, I don't know. It's kind of interesting that they went that route. And it feels very much like this whole game is sort of like not executed very well. And I feel bad because this is my first time playing Secret of Mana, and actually I do kind of... I think there is some value in playing it in this way, like having it be like a 3D kind of version of that game. But there are lots of things that kind of hold the game back from being like a great remaster. For one thing, so they added voice acting in both English and Japanese. But the English voice acting is some of the worst voice acting I have ever heard.
Oh,
wow. It is like legitimately horrible.
That's impressive.
It was so bad.
Really impressive, because you sometimes watch
I'm usually kind of an apologist for English voice acting. I'm like, well, sometimes with anime you can get away with listening to the English, dub. No, this game, it is so bad. Some of the worst I've ever heard.
Does it have an option for Japanese voice acting?
Yes, it has an option. So, like I said, it has it in English and Japanese. And the thing is, though, like, I wanted to know what was happening in the story, so I had to watch the first, like, cutscene.
There's not subtitles?
No, there is. But I had to watch... I couldn't change it in the middle of the cutscene.
Oh.
So I had to suffer through the first cutscene in English voice acting, and it was horrible.
Oh, God.
Because I had started the game in English, thinking,
this isn't gonna be so bad.
It's a Squaresoft game. It'd probably be okay.
Yeah.
And oh man, it was terrible. So like, it was so bad that I was sitting there going, I can't wait for this cutscene to be over so that I can change the voice acting. And that's coming from me, someone who's really usually not super. I don't usually stress about that stuff.
Square it doesn't always have the best voice acting or voice direction. You know, take like Final Fantasy X or the original Kingdom Hearts as an example. Some
Well,
of
the
the
original
lines are
Kingdom Hearts
delivered.
isn't bad.
Yeah, but some of the lines are delivered kind of lousy.
Sure,
right?
but it's not that. It's not that.
But
those-
it's not.
It is
It's
actually
not,
just
it's not as bad as what he's saying.
no.
Yeah.
It is like actually horrible.
Yeah.
It like I said,
Jesus.
some of the worst voice acting I've ever heard.
Oh,
On top of that, so they use 3D models for everything, and they're kind of
Okay.
like very simple, like geometric 3D models. But they don't animate the faces when they're talking, which is very
Right.
odd looking. So they have static faces while they're talking, but they have multiple expressions. So sometimes their expressions will change. It's almost as if they had like a visual novel style thing. But they actually decided to, rather than just have the visual novel thing, they animated all the characters so they move and stuff. But their faces just swap back and forth between certain expressions, which is like kind of off-putting.
yeah.
So I don't know, like just and okay. On top of that, I frequent frame rate dips in a game that really shouldn't. On a computer that has a 770 or a an
1070.
i7 no an i7 7700 and a 1080 graphics card,
Oh,
and I am getting frame rate
Yeah.
dips on this like
Jesus Christ.
yeah on this like 20 gigabyte game. It is like. It is bad. Like I don't know. I don't know. It just feels like the whole thing they were just cutting corners on it or something.
So what you're saying is you're probably better served and spending about the same amount of money to buy a Super Nintendo and a copy of the game.
That's well, actually, I wouldn't recommend that because I think that's actually really expensive. But
But-
Secret of Mana physical copies, I don't think that's.
Yeah, I think specifically Secret of Mana. Like
Yeah.
most of the Square Enix games are big, expensive
Yeah.
bastards
But,
on Super Nintendo.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like I'm very torn on it because actually the voice acting's a lot better when you switch it to Japanese, and
Right.
like I actually understand a little bit of Japanese, and it's like not bad. You know what I mean? It's not executed poorly. It's like they obviously had a decent Japanese voice team, but like
a lot of
English
time I
is
feel
like,
like people
ugh.
who don't understand foreign languages feel that voice acting is better because
right. A lot of
they
times
don't
you can get away with just like I don't understand it anyway, so I don't know if it's good or bad. But like I can actually understand a little bit, and it's fine. You know what I mean? It's not
Mhm.
outrageously good, but it's not bad. And actually, the
Right.
game, the voice acting, that actually helped quite a bit for me.
Yeah.
The frame rate dips aren't bad. It's frequent, and it seemed to happen more when I got my second companion.
Hmm.
So I don't know if it's like, I don't know if it's like an AI thing. I don't know if it's like specific locations, but it was not running super awesome. I might try switching. Like the options menu is pretty limited in general. Like there aren't graphics options hardly. Yeah, I don't know. I'm very torn on it because I think that like looking back at some of the gameplay from older Secret of Mana games, like I could see the appeal of playing it in like an actual isometric 3D, right?
Right.
I can see the appeal of that over like a sprite-based thing because you do have a better sense of like presence and location that way. But there are like lots of little issues with it, and it seems like what Square Enix was trying to do is remake this game on the cheap.
Hmm.
They at least the PC version. I don't know if there's a console version or if that's better, but at least on the PC it's not super well optimized. So maybe I don't know. That's going to be a case by case basis on whether or not that makes sense to you. That being said, it's not super expensive. It's $40. And
Right.
it has couch co-op. So if you don't
Well,
like
they
if you
do it over
have
the
people
internet,
in
yeah.
person that you want to play multiplayer Secret of Mana,
Yeah.
that works fine. I don't know if this is an original Secret of Mana problem or this remake problem, but the pathfinding is kind of bad on the AI. They'll constantly get stuck on like bushes and stuff. And it's like
Right.
it's the kind of pathfinding where your character can run. So if you run like around a thing, they'll run at the wall instead of trying to run around the wall. I feel like if they were actually trying to remake this and make it better, they could have fixed that. If that is not or like if that was an issue in the old game, this is a place they could have fixed it.
I think it's one of those situations where they do that, but if you get off the screen, it teleports back to you in the original. I don't know. I only played the original multiplayer.
So they teleport you when you zone. So even the AI, like if they get stuck on terrain or whatever, if you zone, they'll just teleport.
Oh no, I'm talking about the original. I think in the original, if you get off the screen, the AI comes to you, like teleports to you. But I'm not positive because, like I said, I only played multiplayer.
Another benefit is this game zones a lot less often because Secret of Mana was like 3D or Zelda-esque, where like when you change screens, it would like it would move to a different screen. This one, you actually do have a camera that follows you, and you're like in a bigger map.
Right.
So that's like a benefit. And they do have zone transitions, but they're less frequent than that. What?
Right. But it causes other problems, like you just said.
I don't know. It's not because you can swap back and forth between the characters at any time, so it's not a huge problem. It's just certain enemies are more problematic than others.
Right.
Yeah. Also, it has no like tutorials, so I kept finding things about charging attacks, and I didn't know how to do it for the first 2 hours of me playing the game.
Sounds right.
But I think that's happened in the original Secret of Mana, so I don't feel super bad. I was just like, man, why is my AI partner so much better than me? Like, she's doing all these fancy attacks, and I just swing. So it took me a little while to like get used to the combat, but that's definitely like they reproduced it faithfully. So that's just a Secret of Mana thing.
Have you gotten the sprite? Have you gotten the mana system or the magic?
I just got the sprite, but no one has magic yet.
So here is something that I know this will turn people off to even the couch co-op mode. And I know this from the original Secret of Mana. If you're playing co-op with 3 people, the person that is playing the sprite during a majority of boss fights will be controlling the entire fight, because when you use a magic attack, it freezes the game and does a large animation, a la like a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah.
So other players lose control, and the sprite is the one just spamming magic attacks.
Well,
so keep that in mind if you want to play it with...
I have not gotten to those large magic attacks yet, so I don't really know if it does it the same way. Because it might not, actually. I'm not sure. I know that there are other parts where... I know some of the enemies, I would be frozen in place while they were casting stuff.
Right.
So maybe it's similar, but it's not... I don't know. It matters less if you're playing it solo anyway.
Yeah, if you're playing it solo, it doesn't matter because you're in control the whole time.
So, like, there are... So, with Secret of Mana, I think that it does have redeeming qualities for this remake, but you have to, like, go into it knowing that it's not perfect.
Right.
They could have done a better job. But I think the, having the 3D, like, actual 3D movement versus the 2D sprite movement, I think that is a compelling thing. So, I think that does make a difference. So, I don't know.
Secret of Mana was a little bit harder based on the fact that enemies just went wherever the fuck they wanted, and you had to go within this 4 tiles. So, like, you couldn't quite aim at enemies all the time.
Yeah, both you and enemies do move kind of wherever.
Mm-hmm.
But man, some of those enemies are really, like, tanky.
Yeah.
I thought that I needed to grind on an area for a while because I kept getting, like, wrecked in this area, but I found out I was not supposed to be in that area yet. So I actually ended up over-leveling myself quite a bit. But that's okay, because it's a JRPG.
Exactly, yeah, it's an RPG. You want to level up shit.
Oh no, you're over-leveled. Congratulations, you're ready for the next area in which you were supposed to be under level 4.
Yeah.
Right. So let me move on to the last game I want to talk about, Crossing Souls.
Okay.
All right.
This is a game that is very, like... It's kind of a love letter to, like, 80s nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
So if you like 80s nostalgia, then it's good. And if you don't, then it's bad. is kind of where I'm at with it.
There's sort of no in-between on that?
Yeah, because what makes the game good is very much its theme. And if the theme is something that turns you off, then you won't like it. at all.
Mm.
It's kind of a so it's like a 3D brawler, but mixed with different genres. They actually throw in quite a bit of different genres as you go on. It's like sort of a puzzle game. It's sort of a platformer. It's sort of a brawler. You control like 5 different characters, and each have their own like abilities and kind of like drawbacks and benefits. And the main crux of the game is you discover a item on a dead body that lets you see ghosts. And you're using this to, you know, mess around and check out ghosts and stuff, and then one of the characters becomes a ghost, and then now you have a ghost friend. And it's very much like Goonies-esque in that you have like a group of like teenagers, or well, not. Yeah, I don't even know how old they are.
Precocious children.
Yeah, they could be anywhere from like 12 to 15, or like 12 to 15. Yeah. I think they're in high school, except for one of them. So they're probably high school age. And it's kind of like Goonies-esque, where you're like the first level, you're like looking for this dead body because the main character's like younger brother is like, dude, I found this cool thing. We should go check it out. And then you all like go check out this dead body together. So it's very much like, you know, it has that Goonies feel. Like from the trailer, they have a DeLorean in it. There's like Blade.
The trailer is also. I'm just looking at the trailer. The trailer is or a couple of the trailers look like they're like hand animated. Does the game?
Yeah, no,
does the game
actually
have those scenes in it.
Yeah, there are cut scenes where it has like very traditionally hand animated stuff, like in the style of like He-Man or like G.I. Joe from that 80s time period. So it has that, and it's very liberal with its like VHS effects, and it's a good way to transition different levels from you know, story chunk to story chunk. So like it's actually really interesting. It's kind of a linear story, but it's okay because there's a lot of variety in the different things you do. So you, like sometimes you're like almost like a Streets of Rage-esque brawler where you're kind of going along one line and beating up like gang members who are fighting you. Other times it's more like a map that you're traversing through, kind of in the I don't know, like Ninja Turtles-esque, where you're kind of like going up and, you know, you kind of walk through different paths. Or like a Zombie Ate My Neighbors kind of esque.
Ooh, okay.
Less so with like different weapon choices because all the characters have very specific movesets, but in the terms of like how you navigate. Then there's one part that's almost like a rhythm game where you're running away from like cops basically on a bicycle, and you have to like make sure you're in the right lane dodging things as you go across the right screen. Like, so it's very like cool how it jumps between lots of different like styles of games from that like era.
Genre blending type.
Yeah,
feel.
It's very good about blending genres, and they all are like 80s-esque games that they jump between. So it's very thematic with the whole thing.
And I want to point out it's from Devolver Digital.
Yes. It is a Devolver Digital game, but they publish a lot of weird stuff.
And like everything that you have said has fallen into that.
Yes.
It was published by Devolver Digital.
It is very much a Devolver Digital game.
So here was my feelings when you started talking about Crossing Souls.
Yeah.
The very like not at the beginning of this podcast, but when you were talking about it just to me and Thel. Before before you actually described it to us, I was like, oh, this game has the word souls in the title.
Not even remotely a Souls game.
It is not like the prefix to souls is not dark. So it's some stupid fucking Dark Souls ripoff that is not going to be as good as Dark Souls.
Yeah, it is very much not
so
that. The reason why it has the word souls in the title actually has to do about ghosts. So
all right.
as soon as you said that to me, I was like, oh wait, okay, the word Souls refers to the plot of the game and not the fact that it's a Dark Souls ripoff.
I almost
Any-
wonder if that's
game.
like a cheeky way to like get promotion because people who might not otherwise be interested in this might accidentally check it out because it has
Yeah.
Souls in the title.
I
don't know.
For me, pretty much any game that has Souls in the title, I think it automatically think. And then I saw that it was like a like top down bit indie type game. So I thought, oh, it's like this indie game. It reminded me of Titan Souls. I think was the one that I had
Right.
the most problems with. It was like a 1 hour long game where you fight like 2 whole bosses.
Oh,
and
it's more like 8 bosses.
it was
but...
8 bosses. And
the problem with Titan Souls is you have 1 arrow, and that's the game.
Yeah, the entire selling point was this game is like Dark Souls, and it wasn't. And so from that point forward, any time that I saw the word Souls in a title, I was instantly turned off.
Yeah, this was just kind of
Dark Souls.
coincidental. It's actually kind of funny.
So like now that I'm actually looking at this game, I didn't even bother looking at it when you were telling me about it. But now that I'm actually looking at it and you describing it to me, this game sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
So
I'm actually
don't be turned off because it's not related to Dark Souls or trying to be Dark Souls.
I'm gonna try to finish it up soon and then put out like some sort of review or something on it. Working with how, because we have not done a lot of reviews, we're trying to work out our workflow for that. So that's kind of taking a while, but I intend to put out some sort of video on that. It is actually really fun. And the humor, like the writing is not as, like, the dialogue is not as good as something like Night in the Woods. It's not as something as good as one.
Beyond Two Souls.
No, I would.
Life is Strange.
That's not even the same realm. No, Oxenfree. It's not as good as those two, definitely, but it does kind of like have a almost Saturday morning cartoon vibe of how kids would talk to each other, which is either good or bad depending on how you look at it. Like I said, it's a love letter to the 80s. If you do not like 80s nostalgia, it is not for you.
Right.
But
it's
you
not
want
the same
that,
deal
then
as
it is.
like Stranger Things, which is absolutely a love letter to 80s movies. But
Actually has a
is
Stranger
really good on
Things
its
vibe
own,
too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
Stranger
I mean,
Things
of
stands
what
on
you
its
said,
own
it
for
sounded
sure.
like,
Yeah. And it was enhanced by maybe 80s nostalgia, whereas this is like 80s nostalgia first, enhanced by being a good game. So
what was that? What was that movie that came out that was like 15 minutes? It came out on YouTube.
Kung Fury.
Thank you, Dawson.
Except Kung
that was
Fury.
also a
Kung
Devolver
Fury
Digital video game.
Except Kung Fury was absolute dog shit.
Yeah.
Only
Except
thing
Kung Fury isn't a good game.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have that level of a fun video game you can play.
Yeah.
To support it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would definitely recommend checking out Crossing Souls because if it's your thing, it's gonna be your thing. Like you'll be able to know from the trailer. If it's not your thing, then don't sweat it. But yeah, I would definitely at least look at it. That's it.
Take it from me. Like I said, I thought it was some cheesy Dark Souls knockoff, and as soon as I looked at it, I was like, "Oh, wait, this looks actually fun."
Unlike a video game journalist, you looked at a game and thought, "This isn't Dark Souls."
Yeah, we're distinct from most Dark Souls. From most Dark Souls journalists, where we say this isn't Dark Souls.
Most Dark Souls
I've heard one complaint about it in that the difficulty spikes from time to time.
Okay.
But I think that's just a matter of like it because it's very linear, it's like and it jumps between genres, you can just be kind of bad at one genre. Right. And that might be hard, right? If you're not good at that genre, you might be repeating one section multiple times because
that makes sense.
That's not in your wheelhouse. So it just is a matter of like it can go from like a pretty easy beat 'em up game to like a boss that is also a puzzle to like this rhythm thing. And I definitely spent time fighting the boss multiple times, and I had time doing that rhythm thing multiple times, but you know, I didn't bother me anyway.
Yeah.
I think a game needs to be hard every once in a while, or else what's the point of it even being
I wish more games were hard, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it for video games, I believe, right?
Yeah, I think that's it. We
Yeah.
got through video games and movies. We should probably take a break before we get into the tiny bit of.
Is it even worth it? Like, I want to
No,
take
we've
a
been
break,
going
but is it even worth doing a break?
We've been
Okay.
going for
Do the
2
swap
hours
it and
even.
lose.
I don't think we'll spend more than 20 minutes on news, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I really don't. I don't think
In
so.
that case, why don't we start with video game?
Okay.
And then I'm going to be right back.
You probably shouldn't have left because there's not enough video game news.
No crap. Well, I'll be quick.
Yeah, be quick. Be quick.
Yeah.
Stella doesn't like video games.
Maybe I'll talk about some of the other stuff. Oh, actually, there is an update on the loot box story.
Okay.
Let me just change the subject here to news. Okay, so I don't know if we talked about this last time, but that congressman in Hawaii proposed stuff or legislation to Hawaii, so they're actually starting process on that bill. That was what the news was last week. Kind of the ongoing thing from here is another senator, I believe from Michigan. Senator this time. The other person was a congressman in doing something in the Hawaiian House. This one is a senator who actually wrote an open letter to the ESRB about maybe reclassifying how they do loot boxes in terms of the ESRB scale. And for those of you who don't know, the ESRB is put together by the ESA, the Electronic... I should know this acronym. ESA. Crap, I can't remember it.
In the UK, it would be equivalent to PEGI.
Well, the difference between
it's...
PEGI, I think PEGI actually might be state-run in some way. But anyway, the ESA is actually a lobbying group for the games industry in the United States.
Okay.
And elsewhere too, I believe. But they're kind of just a global gaming, rating system. They're the people who put the T or the M on your boxes.
Yeah.
But the problem with the ESA is, like, they were created as a way to self-regulate the video games industry, and as such, they are a lobbying firm for major publishers such as EA. So,
right.
They have a vested interest in not classifying loot boxes as gambling, or, having that take into account for, rating and whatever. So, this open letter obviously was not like something that would necessarily do something, but
it means
that senators are looking at it now. And if the ESA doesn't kind of make some movement on this, then the government's going to regulate it for them. So that was just kind of a small update that happened in loot boxes this week. We already talked about the Kingdom Come changes, and and it's a slow news week in gaming, so
it's very slow.
The only other thing is, and this is just kind of a minor thing,
as evidenced by how minor this is.
Yeah, this is just kind of a minor thing, but it is a popular game, so maybe people will be interested. If you log into GTA Online in before Monday the 26th, which is a week from now, or the next Monday, if you are watching this on YouTube, you get a free $2,500 or $250,000 in GTA Online cash. So, that might be a good boost for you if you're trying to get back into that game or trying that game for the first time.
For me, I've literally never had that amount of money at one time.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe we could put a little bit more time into the game coming up, just so that we can maybe actually do a heist. Who knows?
That said,
I mean, I have heists ready to go.
Is it really that big of a deal? Like,
not really. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. The only reason I bring it up at all is because it's like a free thing that people who watch us can get.
Yeah, it's true. But I mean from the game standpoint, like, hackers are still so rampant in that game that you could have millions of dollars vomited onto you instantaneously without your consent.
Yeah, they are banning people pretty consistently, but you
Are
know,
they?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it,
I'm
like, but that's
trying.
a thing. It's like that's not a sure thing anyway.
I mean,
Yeah.
as they say in my favorite video game ever, Overlord, evil finds a way.
Yeah. Pretty
there's
much.
also a sale on, or like there's a rebate system on the shark card thing. So if you buy shark cards, you get like 10% back or something. I don't know.
Right.
I don't really care so much about the monetary aspect, but there is some sort of sale going on with that too if you're interested. So so that's it for gaming news.
Yeah, that's it.
Okey-dokey. Yeah, that's all we got. Oh yeah, because we already talked about the Kingdom Come Save thing.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So the
So-
next thing is the BAFTA awards, right?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
first off, American Society of Cinematographers gave Blade Runner a ton of good stuff, which is the cinematographer for Blade Runner has been kind of shafted at the Oscars for many, many, many years, even though he's been one of the best cinematographers working. But the BAFTA awards and this award have given him a lot of praise. So it's looking good for the Oscars for this man. It's looking good for the Oscars for Blade Runner. Looks like they might blow away some of those big technical awards.
Well, it helps that
in the
it's
BAFTA
kind of Blade
Yeah.
Runner is kind of a critic darling, even if it
Yeah.
wasn't a financial success.
Yeah. In the BAFTA awards, the one that won the big awards in the BAFTA awards specifically, probably partially because it was a British movie, even though it was about American, it was a movie made by a British director. Was Three Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. Martin McDonagh has made very sort of like he it's weird. He went from like In Bruges, which was a very sort of
No, hold on.
Irishy
I don't
movie
think
about
you've ever talked about this on the podcast before. What's that movie about?
Can we not?
Yeah.
Please.
anyway, it's about Three Billboards outside of Ebbing. Anyway, he started with In Bruges, which was sort of this very Irishy movie, about going to a town in France, or it was either France or Belgium. I don't remember, but
Same thing.
it was about Irish. It was about Irish hitmen, and then he moved over to Seven Psychopaths, which was about an Irish writer working with like an American writing team in Hollywood, and now he's just made a movie that's just full on American. He's made this weird shift, but still BAFTA counts it and gave a ton of props to Three Billboards. So yeah, that was nice.
That is good, I guess.
Also,
Good movies
Baby
getting
Guillermo del
Baby
Toro.
Driver won Best Editing in the BAFTA
Yeah.
awards.
Which good.
Well, I see where your guys' priorities differ.
Baby Driver was a very good movie.
Edgar Wright is also a British director, so that it doesn't surprise me. He and of course the movie definitely deserves it.
Shape of Water
Baby
got Best
Driver's
Original Music.
Isn't BAFTA a British Film Awards though?
That is,
Yeah, but they're
yes,
British people
absolutely.
in this stuff.
So what?
Yeah.
Why are you saying it like it's surprising that all these British directors are winning stuff? Of course they are. It's a British award show.
There are other movies.
There are other movies
yeah.
in the awards, Dalsson.
Yeah. Like, for instance, the person who won Best Director was Guillermo del Toro for Shape of Water. He ain't a British man at all.
Spanish.
Also, Three Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri is a movie that takes place in Ebbing, Missouri, and it won Outstanding British Film.
Guillermo?
So
Hang on. No,
Yes,
I'm actually curious. Is Guillermo del Toro Spanish or South American?
He's South American. He's Mexican.
Okay.
he's Mexican
I'm
or South American.
I'm pretty sure. Yes, he is
Well,
Mexican.
I mean, with a Spanish last name, Del Toro is definitely Spanish.
Yes.
With a Spanish last name, it could be literally anywhere in South America if you
He is
know
Mexican.
history.
He is a Mexican.
Yeah, I was pretty sure. Yeah. But yeah.
I just looked it up. He's Mexican.
Just making sure.
Also, he looks.
Because those Spaniards went all over South America.
Yes.
It's weird. I've never seen a picture of him before.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know.
Really?
Really?
That surprises
I
me.
totally expected him to look different, but that's fine.
Okay, but yeah, that's him. That's Totoro-san. Yeah.
Totoro.
So, the next thing on this is a movie called Thy Kingdom Come, It is a movie directed by the man who shot one of the Terrence Malick films, Into the Wonder,
That game
using
only
the
came out less
unused
than a week
footage
ago. I can't believe.
for Into the Wonder. If one of the things like that's really known about Terrence Malick is the fact that he shoots a ton of footage and cuts a lot of it out, to the point where people will be the main characters in his movie, like how they're written, and then they won't even appear in the movie in the final
Jeez.
cut.
That's kind of crazy.
That's odd.
Yeah, that's one of Terrence Malick's big thing, and this is a movie using this is one of his more recent movies, using footage from that movie to make a completely different movie.
Okay.
So yeah,
Weird.
this is and this sort of brings me to the thing on Terrence Malick. Like, I talked about him on this podcast before because I talked about Song to Song. The more that I think about it, the more that I'm sort of starting to feel that Terrence Malick fatigue that everyone else has already started to feel. In that, like, I saw Song to Song and I saw Night of Cups. And if you blurred out the faces of the main actors and then just showed me a scene from one of those movies, I wouldn't be able to tell which one was. Because Terrence Malick makes very different films. Very different from anyone else. But the problem is they're all the same film. Which, you know, if you look at other directors that make very different films, like David Lynch, if you blurred out the actors' faces for, like, Mulholland Drive and Blue Velvet, I'd be able to tell which one was which without any problem. And Terrence Malick, he kind of made Tree of Life and has basically been doing Tree of Life since, but with slightly different characters. And
Yeah,
you know, this is a different take on a Terrence Malick movie using footage from another thing. So I'm actually kind of excited. This might be a little bit different, and
okay.
a little bit different from Terrence Malick is all I want, because I want to love him so much, but he makes it really hard.
Moving
So-
on
You
to
like
clearly
the
the
way
most
that he-
important news of this week that we
Yeah.
all want to talk about.
Moving on to the polar opposite of Terrence Malick.
Black Panther came
trans-
out.
Not quite.
The
Even worse.
Oh no, much farther away. The Transformers movie series is going to be completely rebooted, and this isn't like a rumor or anything. This was confirmed by Hasbro at one of their toy things that they said that the I think maybe it was with the Bumblebee standalone film, but they are completely remuxing and redoing the Transformers, starting from the beginning. God knows why. They just decided to. That's how it's. We doing this now. Okay.
It sounds like the Bumblebee is going to be the last one in that
Oh, okay,
series,
it's gonna
and
be the
then
last
they're
one.
rebooting
Alright.
it.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the last 4 movies have been less and less popular.
Yeah. So yeah,
Like,
it's
okay, so the jump Age of Extinction did 1.1 billion. The Last Night made 605 million. That is a jump.
Yeah, that is like a jump. Well, I mean, I guess I'm glad that they're losing money. These movies are famously bad. Like,
I don't know.
they're not
I guess
like
I'm
just-
not glad that they're losing money. I just wish they were better.
Yeah, I mean, these are movies that are like the bottom of the barrel, legitimately the punchline to the bad movie joke movie.
We shouldn't revel in Schadenfreude around here.
I love to revel in Schadenfreude, and that's all I do. In fact, I feed off of it. I'm like
Well,
a vampire.
thanks for tuning into the Graveyard Media Podcast. That'll be it for today.
Well, that is about it.
Yeah,
So,
no, you are actually right.
Oh, thank goodness.
so we're gonna
Okay.
go through what's coming up on this week.
Yeah, on the channels.
The next week.
Yeah.
What do you have coming up first, though?
Okay, so first thing I'm going to have coming up is the first part of what is going to be like a Thel Plays a Spooky Game full-on Let's Play, with not even like a supercut. What I'm going to be doing is cutting it up into 15-minute chunks of Little Nightmares, just because it was incredibly entertaining throughout, and it was fun to watch even so. That's what we decided to do with it, and that's what we're going to do.
And so those
next-
will replace Wednesdays.
Yes.
Oh, Wednesday?
Yeah, Wednesday, because it was going to replace the...
It's
Or no,
replacing
but Wednesday is
Divinity.
the podcast, right?
Tuesday.
Mondays.
Tuesday.
Mondays.
Mondays? Oh, yeah, yeah.
It goes up
No,
Mondays.
Mondays I upload my
Mondays
black
is Mondays is Thel's
No, I
black
thought-
card videos.
Okay, Fridays then. No, that's
Yeah.
that's the other one.
Night
but
of the
that
Woods is
ended
over,
anyway.
So it could replace
That ended
Fridays,
anyway,
yeah.
so yeah, it'll go up
Yeah.
on Friday. How about that?
The point is, it's replacing either Divinity or Night in the Woods. It's replacing one of our videos.
I think it's we'll have it replace Night in the Woods.
So yeah. Another thing I have coming up next Monday is going to be the reason I didn't talk a lot that much about Kingdom Come Divinity is because I'm just gonna make a whole fucking video out of the footage that I got from it. So that's gonna go up on Monday. It's gonna be another black card on that game.
Okay.
Yeah.
For my, I actually might be posting something to YouTube soon. I have been supercutting my Subnautica stream.
It was like a
I
20-hour stream or something, right?
Yeah. It in the end, I streamed it a few times. So in the end, it was like it's worked out to something like 48 hours. It's probably only going to be a few videos though, because I have particular segments in mind. But I'm going to be posting the first part of my Subnautica stream, which is just going to be a supercut, nothing super special. But I'm, a lot of you on YouTube didn't see that, so I'll hopefully pull out all the funny parts. And that'll be going for a couple weeks. I'm
Try to put that on
thinking
right?
of doing
Do it Tuesday.
Tuesdays. Yeah, Tuesdays would probably be a good choice for that. So I'm thinking of supercutting a lot more of my streams. And as far as stream content, I really don't know what I'll be doing. The only thing I have particularly planned is next week I will be playing more of I don't remember the full
Vala?
name. I only remember Vala. Fuck. What's the full
Here,
game
I'll
called?
pull it up.
Llamas.
Yeah, I'll be.
It's Vicious Attack Llama Apocalypse.
Yeah, Vicious Attack Llama Apocalypse. I'll be playing more of that. It'll be extra fun because it'll be a little bit of a showcase because that's the day that the game comes out. I can stream it on the day. It's gonna be super exciting. But that will be next Monday, the 26th. Other than that, I don't really have a lot of stream content planned. I might be kind of previewing a bunch of a few games because I don't have a particular game in mind. I might just be getting
Bouncing
some keys
around and whatever.
Yeah, and
Okay.
kind of showcasing them. I want to put it in one more quick reminder here that I am a Twitch affiliate now, which is just fantastic. You should totally come watch me because I'm awesome.
Yeah,
Everybody loves me.
He made it.
Yeah.
So if you're watching this on YouTube, well, there will be a link in the description for the Twitch channel, so please check that out.
Uh-huh. And Saine, do you have anything coming up? You mentioned a couple.
Yeah, I don't know if
couple
it's
of
gonna make it
videos.
this week. I'm gonna try to get something out, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah. So I think that's it. Oh, Thel, did you already do yours?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
already did mine.
Okay. Good. Then that's it. So that's it for this week. We will see you next week, and remember,
Stay beautiful.